14th on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you being with us, and it's going to be a fun day here on the show, and it's going to be obviously a lot to get to. We had an awesome day in the SEC basketball tournament yesterday. We are going to try to recap it all for you, discuss it for you here today, and we have two walk-offs yesterday, Greg. Ole Miss walks it off. Obviously, Kentucky late last night walks it off. Not sure many people were able to stay up for that one and watch that one. Unfortunately, I did, and we'll pay for it today. But pretty great day top to bottom in the SEC basketball tournament.
Very good day. I thought it was a highly entertaining day. Really bookended by some great games. Texas and Texas A&M was probably the headliner just because of when it fell throughout the afternoon. But looking at that Kentucky game, man, that game was lights out as well. But yeah, like you, I was trying to hold my eyes open at the very end. I was starting to run on empty pretty quick there as the game went along, but a lot of fun and sets the stage for what should be a really good Friday and a good weekend.
We got a lot of in-state teams going to be in action today, and we'll discuss those games and more. Got some college football to discuss. Andy Staples has some potential news out of Florida with what is happening with DJ Lagway. Is he throwing? Is he not throwing in spring practice? We'll discuss that at 8 o'clock today. Pat Bradley gives us a little bit of SEC tournament at 9:20 this morning, and James Spann going to join us in about 9 minutes. I mean, listen, a lot of people don't want to hear this, don't want this, don't think this is a big deal, but when you're hearing as much noise as we are about what is coming through here tomorrow, and you got people that have Little League baseball games tonight, tomorrow. You got people trying to go to the SEC tournament today, maybe coming back tonight, maybe coming back tomorrow, maybe waiting to see if Alabama Auburn win, then going up tomorrow. I figured it would at least be good to get James on and just say, how real is this? What exactly do we need to be paying attention to? What exactly do we need to be watching? So in 8 minutes, he'll join us for just a couple minutes and give everybody a real sense of exactly what's supposed to be going down a little bit tonight and then definitely tomorrow. So we will get to a little bit of that and just kind of give you an update live and in person so you can hear it from him, and we'll discuss it there. SEC tournament yesterday. It was a day. It was a lot of fun, just kind of wall to wall, top to bottom. You could have sat there in front of that television all day long and had quality basketball. Texas A&M goes to overtime yesterday, GMAC, and Texas pulls it out 94-89. Trey Johnson, 20 points. Wade Taylor, 29 points for A&M. And there were moments in regulation where it looked like A&M was going to walk away. And Texas was just holding on for dear life. And then all of a sudden in overtime, it looks like Texas is going to walk away. And they end up finding a way to get the game. But they get to 19-14, one that they probably needed to get into the tournament, might need another one. But a huge win for the Longhorns yesterday.
Massive. And I think yesterday really put on display just the depth of the league. I mean, it's easy to lose sight of it from time to time. I know it's been nonstop, and for those that don't like the SEC, it's been easy to kind of shoot down. But man, when you're watching them all competing in the same building over the course of 4 games, over the course of 8 teams, different teams that are ranked 14th in the SEC all the way up until team ranked 5th in the SEC, and just the quality across the board is amazing. And the entertainment and how competitive these games were was amazing. Texas, I thought, was outstanding. They've been good this year, but it hasn't always been to the caliber of the teams around them. So yesterday they were able to rise, and maybe they can continue doing it because I don't know if they're in the field right now, but they have certainly made a strong case to be included after the last 2 games.
We'll get to Lenardi's latest bracketology here in just a few moments. Finish running through these SEC games from yesterday. One of the wilder numbers that you are going to hear surrounding a basketball game at any tournament, anywhere, any place. Texas A&M and Texas go to 2 overtimes yesterday, and Texas gets the win 94-89. Yesterday was what? March the
13th.
11 years ago was the last time that the SEC basketball tournament had a game go to double overtime. March 13th, 2014, Missouri beat Texas A&M.
Wow.
Just full weirdness right there.
A&M double overtime losers. When it goes to double OT, can't take it.
Texas A&M 0 for 2 in their last 2 double overtime games in the SEC tournament.
Only team to be 0 for 2 in the last 2.
In the last 11 years.
Yes.
Just weird. I just don't
That is
know how you
strange.
get to that. Late last night, Kentucky finds a way to get past Oklahoma. Oway with the full court drive. It was almost Tyus Edney-like going the distance, and how he got that up with his left hand. I don't even know how he got that shot to go in. 27 points for Oway. Fierce had 28 for Oklahoma. Oklahoma goes to 20-13. Kentucky 22-10. But once again, just a kind of a back and forth game there. There were times it looks like Kentucky was going to walk away during regulation, specifically before the half. And then Oklahoma just kept battling, and they find a way to keep that thing tight. And Kentucky gets the game winner late. GMAC 2 over 20 points for Kentucky. It was Oway and Brea who kind of led the way. Brea 4 of 7 from behind the 3-point line. He can get it done from back there. But Wildcats nonetheless going to move on. And Oklahoma, we're going to have to listen to some of the whys and why nots for this basketball team when it comes to the NCAA tournament.
I think they're going to be in. Unless there's, for whatever reason, some type of angst about putting 13 teams in from one conference, which I understand. I get that. That is a little bit uncomfortable, I think, for everybody to think that many teams would be representing the SEC, but I think they're probably going to be in. I mean, I think based on what I was reading, it sounded like they got one in the tournament. They were going to be in good shape. They got that first one on Wednesday and obviously came up short yesterday, but I think they're going to be in. We'll see.
Kentucky gets Alabama today. We'll spend a little time on that one. We'll definitely ask Pat Bradley about it later in the show, just his thoughts on what that one's going to look like, maybe what Alabama's going to have to be concerned with as far as what the Cats are going to bring to the table today. We'll run through that SEC schedule for today here in just a moment. Missouri gets the win over Mississippi State, 85-73. Kind of looked like State just out of gas, not the same team from behind the three-point line as they were in the first round, going 6 of 30 from behind the three-point line in this game. Missouri, first and foremost, the throwback uniforms Missouri has, they need to keep those. They should just wear those moving forward. Just let those be your uniforms. It's just a good look. Tanner Bates, 25 from Mizzou last night, shot 49% from the floor, out-rebounded Mississippi State 43-35. Mizzou moves on. And then another walk-off yesterday, another buzzer beater as Ole Miss takes down Arkansas. A 6-0 run in the last, I don't know what it was, like 13 seconds of the game. Ole Miss, Arkansas was in control of that game. They had that game. Hit your free throws, have a couple good possessions, and you walk away with a win, and they can't do it. 3 starters in double figures, 2 off the bench in double figures for the Hogs. But Ole Miss had 5 in double figures. They shoot 8 of 24 for 3, 48% from the floor, and they find a way to get that win. That was kind of a gutsy one for Ole Miss yesterday, and you heard Chris Beard after the game talking about how it was great coaching when he goes out there and allows Padula, who at the time I think was 0 for 6 from behind the three-point line, to take the potential game-winning shot, and they get it, and they win it. Ole Miss moves on to face Auburn today.
Yeah, well, not about where you start, where you finish. Padula, 1.3 seconds left. Didn't really matter what his shot percentage was prior to that moment, but stepping up and knocking it down. And I still am kind of fascinated by Ole Miss because sometimes I watch them and they're like, goodness gracious alive, they're unbelievable. And other times I watch them, it's like, they're kind of going through the motions. And I'm kind of amazed by that. They can just kind of flip the switch almost as fast as anybody in the entire conference. And I guess I just don't know what to expect from them. They are wildly inconsistent, but when you catch them on the wrong day, look out. Catch them on the right day, you could run them out of the gym. And there were moments in the game last night where it was like, are they even wanting to be here? Like, and then they flipped the switch. It's like, all right, they're back.
Well, then on top of that, during the regular season, it was home, away, good team, bad team. They looked like 2 different teams. Bad teams, they were unbelievable. Good teams didn't really play all that well the majority of the time. At home, they were lights out. Away, they just weren't a very good basketball team. But they get to 22-10. They'll get Auburn today at noon. So your SEC tournament schedule today, Ole Miss, Auburn at noon on ESPN. So it goes from SEC Network to ESPN for the first 2 games. Texas, Tennessee will be your second game, 2:30 on ESPN. And then you'll get 6 o'clock on the SEC Network, Missouri and Florida. And then that's 2 ranked teams, by the way, 21-4. And then you'll get number 15, Kentucky, and number 5, Alabama at 8:30, asterisk 10-ish.
I'm going to say 9.
Before or after 10?
I'm going to say 9:35.
9:35. Okay. Yeah. That sounds about right.
I think about an hour.
Tip around 9:30-ish.
Yeah, I can imagine like a 15-minute delay from every game.
Yep. And this is a game we got at Rupp not long ago, just a couple of weeks back, and Alabama had some success. I don't think Kentucky has found something that's just going to make them different. To me, this looks like one, Greg, where if Alabama's playing their game, they should be good to go.
I think they'll be all right. This one is not the one that would concern me. I actually like Alabama's draw. It's the next round. It's Saturday's game that would give me some fits depending on who comes out of it. Obviously, likely it being Florida. That's the big one, I think. So don't get me wrong. They're going to have to play well, but that kind of goes without saying in this conference. You got to play well every game. But I think Alabama, I feel confident in the game tonight.
All right, we're going to go to the Higginbotham hotline. Welcome in James Spann, AMS certified meteorologist, the guru, specifically here in Central Alabama, with how he knows it, how he talks about it, what he can tell you. And James, I don't know if I was telling Greg yesterday and the guys, I don't know if my algorithm is just there or if it's kind of what we're staring down the barrel of, but I don't feel like I've ever seen as much noise being generated or as much discussion about one storm as we're seeing for tomorrow. I thought it would be a good idea to just kind of have you on and lay it out for folks of what exactly we need to be looking for, what exactly we need to be prepared for, and when that would be specifically here in Central Alabama.
So this is March in Alabama. This is when this stuff happens. I mean, this is the key part of our spring segment of the tornado season. So, but this is going to be a high-end event, fellas. Some events are marginal. This one's dangerous, and it will come in two segments. The first round will be late tonight, after midnight tonight, into early tomorrow morning. And understand, with this first round, there could be a few tornadoes involved. The greatest chance of severe weather with this first round late tonight is going to be for Birmingham West. If you're in Anniston, Gadsden, the chance is pretty low with this. But Birmingham West, overnight tonight, understand there could be a few tornadoes involved. But the really big part of this, the big show, if you will, is going to be tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night, beginning really anytime after 12 noon through midnight tomorrow night. And during that time frame, we believe that conditions and the parameters are maximized for the chance of a few violent, long-track tornadoes, EF3 or stronger, that might be on the ground for 40, 50 miles or longer. And those are the ones that are extremely dangerous. And so the message we're trying to communicate is the fact that you've got to be able to hear these warnings. And the biggest problem we have here is that so many people honestly believe in their heart they're going to hear some World War II air raid siren that's 5, 6, 7 miles away. You'll never hear those inside a house, a business during a raging storm. You won't. You might hear them on a sunny day when they're testing them. So the key message, you got to get the warnings. And a siren, if you're going to depend on a siren, then I can't help you. You have no hope. The baseline, it's a weather radio. And unfortunately, most of those retailers that sell them, they've sold out. But on your phone, be sure you've got emergency alerts enabled. Fellas, that's that loud tone out you get for amber alerts and tornado warnings. That's no app. That's built into your phone. A lot of people turn that off because they don't like amber alerts, which makes no sense, because it would seem to me that you want to help people with a missing child. But anyway, be sure that the emergency alerts are on. You'll get the warning that way. And then in your safe place, helmets for everybody. Everybody. Most people that die in tornadoes, blunt force trauma above the shoulders. Bike helmet, football helmet, batting helmet, motorcycle. And that's for everybody, children and adults. And one final point, guys, for those that live in trailers, and a lot of folks do, it's wonderful, affordable housing. When I was a child, I wish I had a trailer. After my father left and me and my mom, I wish we had a trailer, but you can't stay there during a tornado. You cannot. It's a death trap. So you've got to know where the nearest shelter is. You have to know how to get there quickly, and you've got to have transportation arranged. So if we just kind of prepare, we'll get through this thing together just fine. But understand it's a pretty high-end event, especially round 2, the one tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night.
Now, I don't think any of us anticipate being able to read weather patterns anywhere near as well as you, but is there anything specific we should be looking for in the event in which you don't have sirens, or for whatever reason there's cell phone challenges, or for whatever reason the internet's down? Is there something that we should be looking for on television, in the radars, that or an app that we should download or something like that to help us better prepare for something that might be coming our way?
Well, let's say your cell service goes away and your phone becomes a brick, and for some reason your power's out and you can't watch TV. and you have no communication with the outside world. For a situation like this, we recommend for any approaching thunderstorm, go to your safe place. Just go to your safe place. That's a course of least regret, because any of these could drop a really violent tornado. And we don't say this to scare anybody, fellas. That's the other thing. If you know me, I'm a straight shooter. I am a straight shooter. And there's so much hyperbole on social media now. Every time there's a thunderstorm, it's dangerous, life-threatening, never seen it before. And these people are, using you to make money off the creator content funds to get clicks and likes and shares and engagement. And there's so much hype, and trying to cut through this noise, it's hard. And I do not use strong language very often. Rarely do I use strong language. But I'm using pretty strong language here because this looked like a high-end event. And look at some of the analogs. What we like to do is look at the upper air and surface conditions and see what happened in years past when we had conditions like this. Really, the top analog that shows up is April 8th, 1998. Don't know if you guys remember that. You guys probably weren't even alive back then. But we had a horrible F5 tornado that came through the western part of Birmingham, Oak Grove, Rock Creek, Sylvan Springs, McDonald Chapel, Pratt City, Edgewater. It killed 34 people. And I'm not saying the exact same thing will happen this time, but this is what this type situation produced in years past. And the other question, is this going to be like April 27, 2011? No, probably not. That's generational. We had 62 tornadoes in one day, and 252 people died. That happens about once every 40 years. But again, it looks very dangerous and very high end here. So we just all got to pay attention. And for those that do pay attention to weather, and there's some weather dweebs right now that are listening to this show, they really pay attention. If you know somebody that's in one of these tornado warning polygons, once we get started, call them, text them. You can be a hero, because a lot of people don't pay attention to weather, and that's understandable. We're all busy. But if you've got friends or relatives that are in a polygon, call them, text them, tell them to turn on the TV, get to a safe place now. They can be a big, big help in the process.
For sure. And when you look at, James, at safe places, if you have a basement, obviously windowless, no problem. You already referenced that if you're in a trailer, get out and go to a shelter as close as humanly possible, as early as humanly possible. But what are some other examples of places that you can kind of take cover in your home to make sure that you're taken care of?
Well, first off, you really don't have to be underground. You don't. I mean, most tornadoes, you're going to survive on the lowest floor in a small interior room, like a bathroom or a closet. I've seen it hundreds of times. You'll see the house is just wiped out except for those little small rooms. So small hall, closet, bathroom near the center of the house. And if your house has an upstairs and a downstairs, obviously it's got to be on the lowest floor. And again, even if you're not underground, that's a great place to be. And of course, away from windows. And in that safe place, again, we want helmets for everybody. And another good thing to have for a high-end situation like this is a little portable air horn for everybody. You can buy those at the dollar store, and you stick them in your pocket. And what happens if you are injured? Let's say you take a direct hit, and you cannot vocalize your need for help. And you maybe have been lofted, and you're 100 yards away from where you started, and you can't see anything anyway because of tornado destruction. If you squeeze that air horn, the first responders can find you. We've had a lot of people that have bled to death in open fields where the first responders couldn't find them. So a little portable air horn is not a bad thing. And the other thing we like, it's hard sole shoes. If you've got to walk over a tornado debris field, it will shred your feet, and you'll have severe injuries. And if you're bleeding and if you're in shock, you won't even know that your feet are being shredded. So just good, inexpensive hard sole shoes, little work boots you can buy at Walmart or Target. That's another good thing to have there as well.
And James, finally, I'll leave with this. This is not so you'll force people or maybe want people to ignore it in areas that you do not mention, but specifically of sort of central Alabama or central north Alabama, are there even more detailed parts that need to be at higher alert? Be it just north of Birmingham, just east-west of Birmingham, that you see where this thing's heading right now, and you just say, if I were there, I would take the utmost precaution right from the get-go with these storms.
Yeah, it's kind of an unusual situation in that we have 5 levels to severe weather risk. Right now, all of Alabama, all 67 counties, in a level 4 out of 5. And this is for round 2. This is the one tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night. So really, Mobile to Huntsville, there's no difference in the threat. It's a statewide thing. But again, the first round, that's for Birmingham West. That's late tonight. Birmingham West, I-65 West. East Alabama late tonight, just kind of a low-end threat. But again, this second round, that's a statewide thing. And understand, this is going to be a regional outbreak. We have a very significant risk all the way down to the Gulf Coast, New Orleans, Panama City Beach, Pensacola, and as far north as Nashville. And that's one thing we have to consider. We have the SEC basketball tournament going on. And Nashville's in a level 3 out of 5 risk. And you guys know the history of tornadoes and SEC basketball tournaments. And we'll have to be watching for them as well. And there's actually a risk all the way to Cleveland with this thing. People say, well, I want to get away from the storms. Well, you got to go to Dallas to do that. We don't recommend that people evacuate, for this kind of thing. You just got to know your safe place, get the warning, and we'll get through it together fine.
James, thanks for hopping on. Just wanted to hear it from you. Greg and I were talking yesterday. We've seen so many people that are tweeting out a photograph of a radar and saying things like, "This is all I need to see," or "Look at this thing. Can you believe it?" And I'm sitting there going, "No, guy, I can't believe it because I don't know what the hell that means. Can you explain it to me, please?" So,
wow, man. Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, we'll get. Listen, and a lot of people have weather anxiety. Just get the warnings. Know your safe place. We'll get through it fine. Thanks, fellas. Appreciate
you,
James.
Have
a great day.
Yes, sir. James Spann joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. I know it's not sports, but as he said, there's people traveling up and back from Nashville today, tomorrow, tonight. There are Little League baseball games, softball games today, tomorrow, people moving in and out, weekend here, spring break for some folks maybe. Just a lot of moving parts, and storms tonight, storms tomorrow. Just thought it'd be great to hear it from him, to give you a little better idea of what to be paying attention to and what to be aware of. So appreciate James hopping on. If you have a sports injury that you are dealing with and you're not exactly sure who you need to go see, it should be Andrew Sports Medicine. There's a reason Auburn Athletics hand-selected Andrew Sports Medicine's Dr. Benson Emblem, Dr. Charles Pitts to serve as their team physicians. They provide the highest quality of sports medicine care in an effort to keep the Tiger student-athletes safe, healthy, and competing at the highest level. If Andrew Sports Medicine is the choice for Auburn Athletics, there's no doubt they should be your family's number one choice for sports medicine and orthopedic care. Andrew Sports Medicine, 7 locations across central Alabama, from Birmingham, Coleman, Gardendale, Hoover, Pelham, Trustville. They offer same-day, next-day appointments for acute sports injuries. Visit AndrewSportsMedicine.com today to begin your journey of achieving victory over injury. We move away from the weather, talk a little bit more SEC basketball tournament, and then get into SEC starting quarterbacks coming out of spring. We didn't finish that discussion yesterday. Want to finish it today, and we'll talk some college football as well as a little bit of college hoop next on Mac and Cube in the morning. Appreciate James Spann hopping on with us for just a moment and giving us an idea of what to be weather aware about specifically this upcoming weekend. You know it's going to take place because, as I mentioned with him, it's been all over the place. And we were in studio yesterday and just kind of had the conversation with Greg of the amount of people that are just tweeting out pictures of the radar saying, look at this. Look how red. I don't read that. I don't read weather maps. Hadn't seen the tape on it.
No.
Wanted to get James to just kind of describe
Unfamiliar.
a little more detail live of what we need to be paying attention to, because there's a lot of moving parts this weekend. A lot of people moving around doing a lot of different things. And as we stated, the SEC basketball tournament continues in Nashville, and they could be a part of the poor weather tomorrow. Ole Miss Auburn today at noon. It's an Ole Miss basketball team that last time they played did not beat Auburn, but did give them some headaches the last time, probably more the first time that they met, that game in Oxford, where they were a different basketball team. Auburn handled their business the second time around in Auburn Arena. I mean, 106-76. It got out of hand kind of early. That was when Auburn was on that stretch of just shooting out of the gate.
Yeah.
And completely hot early in games. I don't know if that's what it's going to take. It feels like if it's just a clean game from Auburn today, Greg, then the Tigers and Bruce Pearl's team should probably be fine.
Should be good. Should be fine. This one doesn't concern me too much for Auburn. I think the next one is actually pretty gettable too now. Looking at the matchup that they might get, knowing that A&M is out of the field. So I think things are looking good for Auburn. Of like their draw from the get-go. Today will be tough because Ole Miss is a little tough to figure out, but same time, should be in pretty good shape.
It is odd because it feels like in one of those two matchups, physically, Ole Miss posed some problems. Second time, not near as many. 2:30 today, Texas, Tennessee. I would probably be a heavy lean towards Tennessee here, as the Texas scoring options are not plentiful. It's 1-2 guys majority of the time. When you have a team that plays defense like Tennessee does, you feel like they have the ability to neutralize some of that, and that's advantage Tennessee. Not to mention, you get on the stage, I think veterans become even bigger. Tennessee has those, specifically when you compare the two rosters. I'd probably be a heavy lean. Tennessee's a 9.5 point favorite, and I would feel good about that if it were me.
I think Tennessee is, I'm not going to say a lock because nothing's a lock at this point, but I feel very good about their matchup today, knowing the emotion that Texas dealt with yesterday.
And then Mizzou kind of up and down also. I know they're 22-10, but we've seen great games. We've seen some kind of head scratchers from them. Florida, we know what they are. Maybe a couple of toe stubs down the stretch here, but this group 27-4, I think inside where Florida probably has the biggest advantage in this game today. 6 o'clock on the SEC network, Florida 8.5 point favorite. Do you feel good about the Gators there?
Yes. Always feel good about the Gators.
Always, huh? Okay. Wow.
They're good.
Every single time.
Every single time.
8:30 SEC network, which means 9:30 tip, Kentucky and Alabama. It's a banner game. It's a logo game. It's a jersey game. It's one that in the SEC tournament obviously becomes different because now you're going to have all day and some extra time for BBN to roll into Bridgestone Arena. We talked to Richard Henderson about how that can make it a little bit more complicated. He told us, having played in this tournament, he didn't like playing in the later games. He liked playing the early games because the other team's fans weren't there. And then now you get the fan base in this tournament that's going to be in the crowd. However, it's similar to what I said about Auburn, Greg. It feels like, and we've talked to Richard about this with Alabama, don't turn the ball over, get in transition. Now, you may even have a little bit more of a scoring option inside that could be problematic. I don't know if that's going to be advantageous against this Kentucky team, basically just because of how good their big Amari Williams is inside and does so many different things. But in transition, kind of picking up the pace a little bit is where I think Alabama can have a big edge. As long as they play their game, don't give the ball back to Kentucky like they've been known to do, and keep crashing the boards the way they have been this last month, you feel like Alabama should be okay.
Still always concerned a little bit. I mean, you look at Alabama, like we turn the ball over. That's just the way it goes. And that's always what concerns me this time of year. When you're in a one and done setting, this is obviously a one and done setting, even though we'll play next week, regardless of the outcome of tonight's game. One and done setting, turnovers are they just feel more heavy. They just feel more considerable. I'm hopeful that can be cleaned up, but that has not been cleaned up this year. So that is something I just think is going to go with it. And I just hope that there's a little bit of emotional fatigue for Kentucky, but I think all of that considered, I still like the matchup tonight. I've liked the matchup from the get-go against Kentucky. I don't think they're an overwhelmingly physically dominant team, so I like our chances tonight.
That's today's slate in the Southeastern Conference tournament. Yesterday, we started a conversation about starting quarterbacks in the Southeastern Conference. We want to finish that conversation today. If you're finished dealing with being overweight or getting poor sleep, or maybe like James mentioned, some of that anxiety with weather that comes your way, specifically pets, your CBD store has options for that. Arthritis, anxiety for you or your pet. If you're trying to lose a little bit of weight, the Trim by SunMed is on the shelves now at one of their 3 locations. And by the way, all 3 largest brick and mortar CBD retailer in the world, first company to have USDA certified organic oil supplements. They have the stamp seal on those products. So they're going to meet and achieve a certain set of standards and tests to be signed off on. Your CBD store also has products for skincare, gut health, you and your pet. Listen, our dog is getting treats from your CBD store every single day. She's 16 years old. She needs a little assistance moving around, and your CBD store helps with that. Visit one of their 3 locations, Highway 280 by Bailey Brothers, 150 by the Cajun Cleaver, Trustful just off 459, your CBD store, where good health hits home. How many true quarterback battles are there happening this spring in the SEC? We'll begin to discuss them after this on Mac and Cube in the morning. Friday, March 14th, 7:36 a.m. Right here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. You can watch live on YouTube each and every day. Search WJOX on YouTube. Follow the account at Mac and Cube on Twitter and Instagram. Multiple buzzer beaters in the SEC tournament yesterday. More action coming today. More in-state teams in action today. We'll get to all those as the show continues. Andy Staples is going to talk Florida spring practice as well as just college football springs coming up at 8 o'clock. But yesterday we began a conversation on SEC spring quarterback battles and which ones are definitively ongoing. Maybe made a few predictions on where we think some of these are going to go. And I think the first one that sticks out to me, Greg, is Alabama, with a team that does not definitively know who their guy will be just yet. I think we all believe that there is a certain lean. Would be least surprised if Ty Simpson ends up being the guy, but there is a quarterback battle nonetheless of who is going to be named the starter for Kalen DeBoer's offense.
I still needs to be secured though, and needs to make sure that a lot of his advantages from a maturity standpoint, from a been around standpoint, they need to be on display this spring. I mean, that's important. And he needs to be a leader this spring. So yeah, I think from a understanding, from a comprehension, from a talent standpoint, he's got everything that you can want, but now it's about becoming a leader, becoming a dependable piece. And if he can do that, he'll be in great shape. If he can't, then this competition has a real chance of going all the way into the fall.
What aspects do you think outside of leadership, and that's not one that you and I are really going to be able to measure, even if we're able to see some practices or talk to coaches, they might say that. But as far as measurables on the field, things that this staff's probably looking for need to take place to be the best fit for this offense, what would Ty Simpson need to be best at, better than others at, in order to win this starting job?
Well, I think the biggest thing is being able to distribute the ball in big plays. Like, this is a big play offense. They want to be a big play offense. They're not concerned about making sure that they have high completion percentages. They want to push the ball down the field. They want to make sure that big plays are created. Yards per attempt are important. Completion percentage is not. And that's what I think they're focusing the most on. So that'll be something I'm real interested in and real excited about. But at the same time, I think there's aspects of Ty's game, his mobility, his capability of running the football. Quarterback run is still going to be part of what they do. I don't think it's what they're going to be huge on, but it's going to be part of what they do. So I think there's a lot to like about what Ty can do, but he's got to go and take it. I think that's the big key. He's got to go and take it. He's got to take this spring very seriously. This is his first opportunity to go into the spring with a significant advantage over the other two guys that are competing for the position. He's got to go and take it. And if he doesn't go and take it, then we've been wondering what's taking them so long forever. Maybe that's just it. Maybe he just doesn't have that go and take it mentality. But I think he will. I think he's going to be fine, and I think he's going to have a great year.
Do you think there is any benefit for the bodies behind Ty Simpson, Keelan Russell, and the others that Ryan Grubb comes in? And I know the system doesn't completely change. I know the verbiage doesn't change, and how most of the plays are called will still be very similar. But because it is a new OC technically, does that give it a little bit more of a reset button where maybe the guys that have been around it longer don't have the advantage? Ty Simpson doesn't have as much of advantage having been around it a little bit longer?
I still think there's a pretty good advantage. I mean, Austin Mack's been around it longer than anybody. You know, I don't know if there's an advantage to be had having run the offense and having been around it, because Austin Mack did it for a while. I know his first year was spent mostly on the scout team, but I know he got some reps there with the threes at times back at Washington. So I don't know if there's some huge advantage. I mean, Ty's gone through the install twice, last spring and last fall, which means he's got a little bit of a head start, but I don't know if it's enormous. I think it's just freshmen have a difficult time. There's a pretty steep learning curve on a freshman.
And a lot of times too, I think, Greg, we look at it and we say, well, guys he's had to go through, the Jason Campbell syndrome. He's been in 5 offenses. He's been in 4 offenses.
Oh gosh,
he's had install the last 2 years.
That is the most overrated.
But there are inherent advantages that come with that. You see things different ways.
Sure.
You understand things in different ways. Things are coached. Maybe the most important part of that is things are coached differently, and your perspective becomes wider on how things operate, because there are different types of learners. There are different types of ways to see things. And the more you're introduced to those, usually, not all the time, usually though, it makes it a little easier to understand different things. Because like I remember when that guy explained it that way, I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. But now, like I totally see that. I mean, I can tell you this, like going from Jimbo Fisher to Noel Mazzoni, just Noel Mazzoni's demeanor made it easier to understand everything.
Sure.
Because, it wasn't like he just wanted to push you off a cliff every day. So it's all of that can be a benefit. Now, there were things when Jimbo's offense that we took with us, and you're kind of like, okay, yeah, I remember we did it that way now, so it makes sense to go this way with this, but we didn't have to explain it the old way. I got it, and it makes it a little easier to grasp. So it's not always a negative that a guy's had to install new offenses, and I do think a lot of fans see it as that, and it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is a little bit of a challenge. I think it's a bit overrated, if you want me to be honest with you. My first 3 years in college football, I had a different offensive coordinator. It never stymied my development. Like, oh my gosh. So we call 60 power 61 power now, or 62 power. Like it's fine. Like figure it out. It's not that hard. We're not, curing cancer here. We're literally we're trying to figure out, all right, do we take a 3-step or a 5-step drop there? Like who cares? So that I think that's overrated. In the NFL in 3 years, I had 4 offensive coordinators, like 4 different offenses. And guess what? It was actually great because you could build on the fundamentals of the previous offense. Now I know I'm a little more cerebral than a lot of the guys. I get that. But at the same time, it's not that hard. Like it's just not that hard. So I do think that there is a little bit of an advantage of being an older player, because going from a high school offense to a college offense is a pretty big gap.
Yeah, totally different.
But from a college offense to a college offense, you're fine. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's not that difficult. If you've absorbed the information before, you're okay. But going from a college offense to a college offense is pretty manageable. Going from an NFL offense to an NFL offense, pretty manageable. Going from a college offense to an NFL offense, pretty big jump. And then from a high school offense to a college offense, pretty big jump. So I don't think it'll be too much of a challenge for the older guys if they've gone through the install before, regardless of what offense they're familiar with.
What are your thoughts on the Alabama quarterback position, the Alabama quarterback battle, other SEC spring quarterback competitions that we need to get to? And you think about absorbing information. A lot of times in real estate, there's just too much of it. There's too many homes, too many listings, too many variables. Why is this price? Why is it not coming down? Why is it so high? Gusty Gouls can help. Just call 205-542-1996. Gusty Gouls, brokered by eXp Realty. He's only served 3,000 home buyers and sellers in the greater Birmingham area. So not only does he know the landscape, he knows the market, and he specifically knows the homes that are going to be coming up for sale and the ones that have been for sale for a while, and how you're going to be able to get into them and how you're going to be able to get rid of yours at top dollar. Since 2012, Gusty Gouls Group recognized both nationally and locally as Greater Birmingham, Alabama's #1 team in homes sold. Over 835-star Google reviews. Visit GustyGoulsGroup.com or call 205-542-1996 today and start packing. Not just Alabama. Who else is battling it out this spring at the quarterback position in the SEC? We'll discuss that and more next on Mac and Cube in the morning. 7:49, Friday, March 14th, right here on Jocks 94.5. Tweet in at Mac and Cube. You want to be a part of the show? 800-239-9569 gets you on the Higginbotham hotline. Talk SEC quarterback battles. We mentioned a few with Alabama and just how that one could play out, how that one could go, what direction it would go. If you're predicting it today, if you had to call it today, is it Ty Simpson? Is it that easy?
That'd be my pick, yeah.
I think most people would go there.
I don't think it's a lock, though.
Still open. You think it'll go into the fall camp?
Yeah,
fall
I think it'll go into fall camp. Because everyone's going to want to see how much better the freshman gets, right? And then Austin Mack's still a pretty young player. So
you also don't want to run your guys off.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
you have
unfortunately a
three
real
scholarship guys.
Real part of college football right now is you don't want to send guys packing. And a lot of times when a starter is named, the guys who are not that guy,
they go.
They're leaving.
Bye.
You don't want that.
Well, if they are leaving, they can call Crocker Moving Service. They're a local company owned by an Iraq War veteran, Eric Crocker. Crocker believes in hiring movers you can trust to complete full background checks and run drug tests on every single employee. These are good guys. And you can trust them in your home. Whether you need your whole home packed up and moved, your company headquarters, which guys country, or you just want them to rearrange the living room. These guys got you covered. They also do deliveries for furniture that you purchase need to get to your home. So call or visit them online today for a free quote. The website's CrockerMovieServices.com. That's CrockerMovieServices.com. Support your veterans by choosing Crocker Movie Services for your next move.
Is that the most intriguing quarterback battle for you in the SEC this spring? Now, there are not many because we know where Tennessee's situation is. I think we know where Texas' situation is. We know where LSU is. We know where South Carolina is. Florida, obviously. We'll talk about DJ Lagway with Andy Staples coming up here in 10 minutes, but he's going to be the guy if he's healthy. We know Taylor Green's the guy at Arkansas. Pavia's a guy at Vandy. We know Matier's going to be the guy at Oklahoma.
Is there going to be like an upset incumbent starter
where would it be
that gets bumped?
Where would it be?
I don't know. I always feel like there's one.
Maybe Calzada doesn't win the job at Kentucky. I don't.
They go young. I mean, I don't know.
Let's just run through here. Like Arch is not getting beat out.
No.
Georgia might be that one, and we talked about it the other day with Rodney
that'd be one.
That would be one we would look at and say feasible because it's not going to be Tennessee. It's not going to be LSU. It's not going to be South Carolina. I guess you could say Ole Miss is a maybe, doubtful, but maybe. A&M, is that one where
I think that's the one.
It's potentially not Marcel Reed, and you could probably go a different direction there.
I mean,
but it's more feasible than some other places.
I think it's possible. I don't think it's 100% bona fide lock. I think it's possible. What if Matier doesn't get it? And the runaround guy from last year, I'm blanking on his name. He ends up becoming a dude.
Michael Hawkins?
Michael Hawkins.
Yeah, if that happens, just start looking for a new head coach. John Matier's getting $3.2 million.
Yeah.
If I'm your collective and we pay 3.2 for a guy and he doesn't start, we need to start over right away. It's great that Michael Hawkins had a nice camp and all, but John Matier played for the offensive coordinator you're bringing in.
Yeah.
If that happens, we probably,
do you think how much of
it's kind of like when you miss the first mushroom in Mario Brothers, you just hit the reset button. Like it's only level 1. We'll start over.
Wow.
What are we doing here? When you get the mushroom, did I say marshmallow, by the way?
I knew what you meant.
When you get the mushroom and then the Koopa gets you and you go back to being little Mario again, reset button.
No chance?
That was, you know what? We hadn't been in this very long. Let's just start over. You don't get the up, down, left, right, BA, select, start, 30-min in Contra.
Wow.
So you hit the reset button. If I don't have my 30-min, I'm not doing it.
Out?
No, you can't beat it without them.
Can't do it.
It's not possible.
Well, if you're weak mentally, you definitely can't.
Yep. Hit the reset button. That can't happen. That's not.
This isn't fair. I'm starting over.
I'll say that is not one to me that's even feasible. I just don't think that's
not
even
possible. All right. I'm just saying.
And Michael Hawkins' dad played at Oklahoma, so there's some lineage there. You understand probably why he's sticking around, but
you don't have to be a hater. I'm just saying it's possible. I'm not saying it's possible. I'm just presenting the possibility.
I don't think that guy is at Missouri because you still have Sam Horn and Drew Pine on the roster. So Perbula going to be the guy, but Drew Pine's not beating him out.
No.
He did a couple nice things in games last year, but I think that opened people's eyes more to Who was Drew Pine's coach and offensive coordinator at Notre Dame when he actually played?
I
Was it Tommy?
think it was.
Whoever it was deserves credit because they made him look a lot better than he is at Notre Dame. They deserve a little bit more credit than what they got for that year.
Yeah.
Because it's not that. I don't believe. Now, Kentucky, I guess you could say, I mean, Zach Calzada went down a level. He got reps. He's got the arm strength. Cutter Boley, I'm sure they talked to you about him last year like they did us, that, you know, he's got this big arm and they like him so much. And wow, look at him. Look how throw. But
he
don't,
did not come up with us.
I don't think that he's a guy. I mean, he would be the one that wins it, but I just don't think that that's. Once again, I think if Zach Calzada doesn't win the Kentucky job, you're probably talking about you got a lot of other issues going on.
What about Austin Simmons at Ole Miss? Like, he's going to win it. I don't think anyone's touching that one.
No, but he kind of is the younger guy, so I don't know who else has come in that you would think AJ Maddox is going to go take it from him. You do bring in a transfer in Pierce Clarkson from Louisville. Hadn't seen the tape, but I think that's Austin Simmons' job to lose.
Yes.
It would have to go way wrong for him to not end up being that starting quarterback, in my opinion.
What about Mississippi State?
That's an interesting one because the guy that you had that probably could have either, well, you would say kept it, got it when your starter was injured, Michael Van Buren's at LSU now. So I think that changes it a little bit. If Blake Shapen is healthy, it's him. It's not. Kamario Taylor maybe can come in and push, but I don't think Jeff Lebby can mess around by breaking in a quarterback this year. I think he needs to win a couple games, and Blake Shapen is his best bet to be able to go do that. But he's got to stay healthy. So either Luke Kromenhoek or Kamario Taylor are going to have to be ready to go. The Florida State transfer,
Kromenhoek,
who they like. And that would be an upset in my mind if he came in and won it. That would be a younger guy coming in, sort of knocking off the incumbent.
It's definitely Shapen's to lose, but I don't think it's a bona fide lock. I don't know how any of these can be a lock anymore. They can't be. They literally can't be anymore.
Well, a couple of them are. Nussmeier's a lock.
Yes, okay. Those.
Nico's a lock. We didn't get to Auburn, and that is not a lock, even though a lot of people like to believe that it is.
There's an example.
We'll discuss that one and what is happening in Florida with their quarterback situation next with Andy Staples. 8 o'clock, hour number 2 underway, Friday, March 14th. Mac and Cube in the morning. Tweet in at Mac and Cube. Watch live on YouTube. Search WJOX each and every day. Going to go to the Higginbotham Hotline. Welcome in Andy Staples, the On3 Sports Network, covers college football. Lives in Gainesville, so feels like probably knows that program a little bit better than some others. And we've been talking SEC quarterback battles this spring, Andy. Before we get to actual Florida info, is there one that sticks out more than you? There's not a ton, actually. I mean, most of these we feel like we know who the guy's going to be. And even on the ones that are supposed to be competitions, we kind of feel like there is a heavy lean one direction or the other. Is there one that you truly feel like is up in the air that you have more interest in than some of the others in the Southeastern Conference this spring going into fall?
I don't even know if it's up in the air, Cole, but it's your alma mater. I just think the way Hugh Freeze handled this year is the way he probably should have handled it last year. And this should get Auburn the best possible ride at quarterback, having three guys that you want to look at. Because obviously Jackson Arnold's the favorite, but you bring in Ashton Daniels, who has started games at Stanford, Deuce Knight's a blue chip recruit. Like, that competition should produce someone who's going to be more effective than they had at quarterback last year. And it's really, when you look at that team, they were right there. It was crippling mistakes, usually from the quarterback position, that cost them multiple games last season. You flip those results if you have more competent quarterback play, and all of a sudden you're looking at a very, very different program.
What do you make of the possibility of Auburn having a breakthrough? I have people ask me all the time, like, how do you think it's going to go? I'm like, I have no idea. I mean, I think it all hinges on how confident Jackson Arnold is. And if Jackson Arnold's not confident and he's throwing picks in an offense that has traditionally led to a ton of interceptions and turnovers, then that could become real problematic real fast for Auburn. So I think their ceiling's crazy high, but I also think their floor is pretty low. Is that fair?
I think it's very fair, Greg. And the one transfer that I think is really interesting with Auburn, obviously other than Jackson Arnold, is Eric Singleton Jr., because I think pairing him with Cam Coleman gives defenses a whole lot of stuff to think about, because Cam Coleman is your big physical guy on the outside. Singleton, if you look at Georgia Tech, I don't think Georgia Tech had the kind of talent to really let Singleton loose, because you probably need that bigger, more elite wide receiver one, which is Coleman. And then you can just sort of move Singleton around the offense and do some crazy stuff with him. I mean, you look at the Georgia Tech-Georgia game last year, there's a touchdown he scored, and you're like, you put him with Cam Coleman? I don't know how to defend that. And so I'm excited about that. I think they have the weapons. And look, Cole tell you, this is one of the better Auburn offensive lines we've seen in a while. They brought a lot of guys back. They brought in guys to compete with the guys they brought back. So I think the run game is going to be fine. So I'm hoping that they don't have to take as many chances in the pass game, and that does reduce the interceptions. But I'm with you, Greg. I don't know how it's going to go, because it's sort of like Auburn and Oklahoma feel like they're in the same bucket. And then, like, you go back to the game last year, they were kind of right neck and neck too. But both of them are praying for a breakthrough, praying for, better luck at positions that gave them problems last year. Now, with Oklahoma, it was receiver injuries and also offensive line. But I don't know, but I like what Auburn did personnel-wise to fix the issues.
And I'm a little bit less confident with you that it's a done deal, just because I do think there's a large portion of Jackson Arnold that needs a hard reset. There are some things that need to be coached out of him, and I just think Hugh's going to have to really coach him to get him where he needs to be to take advantage of the talent that comes with it. But as you also stated, you bring in Ashton Daniels, who has other game experience. It can be a little bit of a different type player. It probably works out. Before we get to a couple of others that are sort of competing, give us the latest in Gainesville. There was some noise coming from your show yesterday about DJ Lagway. Is he throwing? Is he not throwing? Is he healthy, not healthy? How are things being handled in Gainesville right now?
No, he's not healthy. And Billy Napier said it the first day of spring practice last week that he's dealing with a shoulder issue. But since then, the question every day is, did DJ Lagway throw today? He hasn't. And I wouldn't be stunned if he doesn't the rest of the spring. They're trying to make sure that shoulder is going to be okay. And initially it got hurt in the Miami game last year, but they're trying to make sure that he's 100% healthy for fall camp. And look, every single person in that organization's job is on the line again this year, because that's just how it seems to go at Florida. If you have a healthy DJ Lagway, you got a really good shot. If you don't, you've got a problem. And I think that's what they're dealing with. Now, they're not acting like the sky is falling or anything like that. I think this is one of those with the fan base, because they've been through a lot the last few years. They're just like, oh God, what now? But if it's a rest thing, and what I've been told is it's not something that requires surgery, he needs to rest it. If it's a rest thing and he's 100% healthy in the summer, throwing with his receivers, and then you get into fall camp, like, you're probably fine. But it's one of those things where they had so much optimism and they were finally feeling good about everything. And it's like, now you've got to deal with another thing. But I do think if he's healthy, if the rest is all it takes, then they're probably fine going into the season, because I think DJ Lagway makes them a very different team.
I love DJ Lagway. I think everybody does. I'm not sure anybody can push back on the possibility of the upside that he might have. Their rivals, the Florida Gators rivals, Georgia Bulldogs, I think have a whole host of question marks coming into the season. I know they won the SEC last year, but it felt like a distant version of the team that won the national championship 2 years prior. Is Georgia going in the wrong direction, or do you think they're poised for another great year?
I don't think they're going in the wrong direction, Greg. I think just the same market forces that have hit everybody else in college football have hit them. And it's just harder to have a super team like they had when they won those 2 national titles in a row. I mean, think about that defensive line on the 2021 team and the one on the 2022 team. I mean, you had multiple first rounders. It's so hard to have that level of talent in one position room anywhere. Like I said after last season, that Ohio State was going to be the last of those super teams that we saw. Like, Greg, you played on those teams. You played on those super teams. And that you guys were kind of the first of those, where you had the best recruits in the country would all get together and they said, we're going to go play at this school. And really, they played at about 3 or 4 schools for about 15 years. Well, NIL and the transfer portal, they changed all that. You just can't stack like that anymore. And I think Georgia has found that you can't stack the way they stack, even though they're still recruiting at a really, really high level. It's really hard to keep that kind of depth. And I think last year you saw it with the interior defensive line. It wasn't like what you'd been used to seeing from Georgia. And I think there's going to be that at every major program that has national championship aspirations. Like, Georgia's going to be really good. They've still got really good players. I know they have to replace a lot on the offensive line, but I have faith in the way they've recruited. But they're going to have a position group here and there, and Ohio State's going to have a position group here or there. Texas is going to have a position group here or there, where you aren't going to be as deep as you want. And that's going to add a lot of variability to who wins the national title. So I think Georgia's just been affected by the stuff that's affecting everybody at the top.
Absolutely. Andy Staples joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, talking spring football, spring quarterback battles. If we move to a couple of others and maybe offer some uncertainty as to where they would go, Texas A&M was one that we brought up that we look at and say, not 100% certain where that one goes. After Georgia, that was another one that we did discuss as well. But do you feel confident that this is just Marcel Reed moving forward for Colin Klein and company?
I think so, because it feels like that's what they kind of pushed in on last year. But I mean, they kind of sprung a Marcel Reed on us in that LSU game. Because remember, Reed comes in for Wegman last year in the Florida game, and you're like, oh, freshman's pretty good. And then Wegman comes back against Missouri and looks awesome, and you're like, okay, no, never mind. And then once Reed took over in the LSU game, it felt to me like that's where they were aiming. So it feels like that to me. But Texas A&M is a really interesting team to me, guys. We had a discussion about that on our show this week. Like, even an 8-4 Texas A&M is wrecking somebody's world. Like, they are on the schedule of so many teams that face a really pivotal year, whether the coach is in the hot seat or this is a year where they're supposed to be really good. Maybe they're not going to be really good. Texas A&M, if they're good, so if they're 8-4, they're still wrecking somebody's day. if they're 9-3 or 10-2, they're messing up everything.
100% they are. Well, is there another quarterback battle that you think is kind of flying under the radar right now that not enough folks are talking about because they assume it's going to go a certain direction?
I don't know, because Notre Dame's the one I find a little bit interesting, because I got the impression last fall that all the arrows were pointing towards C.J. Carr, who's Lloyd Carr's grandson, as the quarterback of the future. You saw they didn't go in the portal, and you thought, okay, now they're going to go homegrown, because they ran at Sam Hartman, they ran at Riley Leonard, and it seemed like everything was headed in that direction. Now, C.J. Carr gets an elbow injury during the season and doesn't really get to do much. He started throwing again toward the end of the season. And Steve Angeli, who had started the bowl game the year before, he's the backup the entire season of Riley Leonard. And you saw him get thrown in there in the Orange Bowl. Team clearly loves him. Coaching staff clearly loves him. That's the one I'm wondering about, because I thought, and like Deuce Knight, who we mentioned with Auburn, he flipped from Notre Dame to Auburn. And I think one of the reasons he flipped was the tea leaves said that C.J. Carr was going to be the guy, and you're thinking, okay, he's got a bunch of eligibility left. Maybe I want to go somewhere where the job's more open. But I'm not just handing that to C.J. Carr right now. Like, Steve Angeli looks like he might be able to win that job. So that's the one I want to watch for all spring.
I'm with you on that one. I'm with what we saw from Angeli in the Orange Bowl, and you were there also. I mean, to be thrown in that situation and have the poise and throw darts like he did, it's hard not to have confidence that he can just get it done. If we go outside the SEC, still stay national outside of Notre Dame, is there another quarterback battle that you're looking at as overly interesting that you look at and say, man, I don't know which direction that's going to go, but if it's one guy or the other, could make a huge difference?
Michigan's the most interesting one, period, guys, because Bryce Underwood, the whole situation with him. Bryce Underwood, for those who don't know, was the number one recruit in the country last year. He was committed to LSU forever. Michigan comes in with just a massive bag. And it's, Larry Ellison, the Oracle CEO, his wife is a Michigan grad, is like, hey, Larry, this is a rounding error for you, but how about you drop some cash on this? And so billionaire writes a check, and Bryce Underwood's going to Michigan. Now, Michigan, basically non-functional offense last year. Somehow managed to beat Ohio State. Yeah, okay, non-functional offense last year.
Yeah.
Quarterback play was not good. So you've got Bryce Underwood, number one recruit. They bring in Chip Lindsey as the offensive coordinator. He brings in Mikey Keene from Fresno State, who started for Chip Lindsey at UCF, so knows the offense, understands what's going on, has played a lot of college football. Mikey Keene seems like the obvious, stopgap, start him until Underwood's ready. What if Underwood's really good?
Yeah.
I mean, you got this massive investment. If he's as dynamic as everybody says, what if he's the guy? And then you look at the way that team played last year, because it's not just, they had Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham, and that's how they beat Ohio State. That certainly helped them beat Ohio State. But they played an almost full-strength Alabama in the bowl game, and Michigan was playing basically its backups. And a lot of those defensive backups are going to be the starters this year. They kept Wink Martindale at DC. I think they're going to be a really good team if they have an even average offense. What if Bryce Underwood's really good and they have a good offense?
Yeah. Well, Mikey Keene's got 65 career touchdowns. I mean, kid's played a bunch of football.
Ton of football.
It's not like he doesn't know exactly what's going or anything. So we'll see. But
and knows that offense specifically. I mean, that's why they brought him in.
And also, I'd push back on the Bama playing their starters and Michigan playing their backups. Some of the guys playing for Bama should have been backups, and should have been made backups. True.
And they were wearing the wrong. They were wearing the wrong cleats.
Correct. Yes, that's what it was. 100%.
That's awesome. All right, Andy, thank you so much for hopping on. Great stuff. Always appreciate the time. We'll look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thanks so much, guys. See you.
There you go. Andy Staples of the On3 Sports Network joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. All right, when we come back, we'll continue talking some college football quarterbacks, other competitions, other guys that we're watching that may have been on the move and are kind of flying under the radar. We'll do all that next on Mac and Cube in the morning. 8:18 Friday, March 14th on Jocks 94.5, talking college quarterback competitions through the spring there with Andy Staples. A couple of them happening all over the place. And a couple that you look at and say, yeah, I'm not certain how that one's going to go. People forget about Mikey Keene coming over to Michigan. That had a ton of snaps, played a ton of football, has 8,245 career yards passing, 65 touchdowns. He has thrown 1,170 passes, so a lot of experience.
1,100.
But you got a talent that some people are comparing to others that very few have been or would be compared to coming in to that Michigan lineup. We'll see. I think we have sort of pinned the SEC conversation on where it needs to be. A few that are open, a few that are out there. Georgia, some real uncertainty. We feel like Texas, Tennessee, LSU, South Carolina, Missouri, Florida, Arkansas, Vandy, Oklahoma, pretty much handled. Mississippi State probably handled. Auburn, we think we know where it's going, but it's more open than you might believe. Kentucky's a little bit of a wild card. Probably should be Calzada.
Hang on 1 second on the Auburn thing, just for a moment. We just made the conversation about Oklahoma, the segment before we had Andy join us, and you said, well, Mateer's making 3.2 or whatever the heck it is. Well, we know Jackson Arnold's making big smack. What if, for whatever reason, he's not the starting quarterback?
I think it's a little bit of a problem.
I mean,
now he's not making 3.2, but
if is he making 7 figs? So
I don't think he's getting 7 figures.
I think
but he's getting more than the other guys.
Yeah, he's doing
well.
He's
getting a big chunk of change.
He's the highest paid guy.
There's also a reason you spend a little other money on other guys.
Yeah.
So I don't think that that's that big of an issue because his offensive coordinator that he thrived under is also not coming with him, where it looks like it should be an immediate fit. Doesn't have the experience that John Mateer does. What's interesting is that they actually kind of resemble one another on the field. It would be disappointing to a lot of people, I think, just because you know what's in that tank. You know what's available. You know what's there. And it's like you just can't reach it. It'd be like that stupid claw game, that we talk about with our kids, where you can never get
you're never going to make it.
Football player, whatever
Ever.
it is. Like you're not getting that Nerf football out.
Can't
it's not
do
coming
it.
out. But you see it and it looks cool and it'll be
Super
fun to
cool.
have. And the kids want it. And $87 has gone into it, even though it cost $1.25 to make.
I'll take the over.
But you're not going to get it. I think Auburn fans will look at that as like, look at that talent, the ability to break you down with his legs. He can push the ball down the field. He throws a beautiful spiral. Like the ball looks great coming out. But if mentally, emotionally, it's not there, I think there'll be a lot of regret with Auburn fans and people who helped make that decision happen of just, we couldn't quite get it out. And it's going to be more. It's more than what you're going to have with, I don't know if I can say anything on that lineup because I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know exactly what kind of college player, Deuce Knight's going to be. I mean, do you?
I mean, I hope he's good.
Great.
I've been told that if you have 5 stars, you're always phenomenal.
Of course. But Jackson Arnold's more talented than Ashton Daniels. He's just more capable of doing more things well. And he did a lot of those things last year. There was just some things he didn't do well, like protect the football. And people will go look at the passing stats and say, oh, dude, 3 interceptions. Well, go look how many times he dropped the ball.
I don't know why that counts.
And maybe more important, how many times had receivers open down the field and literally could not let go of the football? Like, just
why does that matter?
The brain would not allow the ball to be tossed.
I don't know why that matters.
Well, sacks are not often welcomed, and tackles for loss and running from your life, scramble fire drill, not always, like you dropped a snap on PAT field goal, doesn't always look great and doesn't always end up in positive yardage.
No,
so
not
if
always.
Those things get cleaned up, there's a lot there. There's a ton there. The ceiling is very high, but I don't know what the floor is right now. I just don't.
I don't think anybody does, including Hugh Freeze.
So it's not the given that I think a lot of people want it to be or believe that it is.
It could be. You hope it is.
Absolutely. And like Andy said, the job could be made a little bit easier because Oklahoma couldn't really run the football in a traditional sense last year. The offensive line was porous. There were a lot of different guys that were banged up in camp, and then there were guys banged up during the season, and then guys couldn't practice but tried to play. You're mixing and matching during practice, during camp, in game. It was a mess. It was a total mess. Then your OC gets fired. Somebody else is trying to run it. You probably benched Jackson Arnold a game or a half too early. You didn't give him a lot of, and I know the pressure was on, and there were other things that were happening, but you probably could have let him go a little bit further to see if he could have gotten some of it figured out.
Probably.
But
easier said than done.
It is. It totally is.
You can't just let the season slip away because your quarterback's not seeing the field. And it had gone back for 9 months. He got benched 9 months after his first start, and his first start was disastrous with the amount of interceptions he threw and the amount that could have been intercepted.
Correct.
Dangerous throws.
You benched him in game 4.
Correct. It's a third of the way through the season.
But after you had defeated Temple, Houston, Tulane, did you know what you were there? Did you really know?
I don't know.
And by the way, you lost 25-15 to Tennessee. Now, I know Tennessee didn't have to do a lot of work.
It was also a bit of a backdoor cover.
It was a weird one. But all I know, when you look back on it, you kind of say,
yeah,
did we jump to conclusion just a smidge early because
probably
you brought him back too?
Yeah, I think
he had to come back and play again.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
So
I don't think there's anything wrong in saying that conclusions were jumped to there. And I am a Seth Luttrell fan.
Well, I think Seth was gone when you had to play him again later. Joe John Finley had to bring him back in just to give you whatever the veer triple option stuff you thought you were going to have. You beat Alabama with it, so it worked to an extent.
Yeah,
but that wasn't going to be what you were going to live on for the foreseeable future. But that's just it's not one that's in stone. And I understand why people want it to be, because when it's good, it looks great. The kid can push the ball down the field. The ball, Greg tells you this all the time, that certain guys, the ball just looks different coming out of their hand. And he's one of those guys. It looks smooth. It looks effortless. It looks crisp. And it can go a long way. And then he can break you down with his legs, not just from I'll make you pay for not defending this, pick up 5 yards like Jared Stidham did. Like, he can go 60. He can go 80. He's done it. And so you want all of that. And like Andy Staples said, with what's going to be around him,
yeah,
you're going to have to worry about Cam Coleman down the field. You're going to have to worry about Eric Singleton everywhere. Jet motions, orbit motions, screens, quick game, hand him the ball. Down the field. He locates the ball well on the deep throw. He's not just one of these speedsters. It's not truly a wide receiver gadget. We find ways to get him the football. Like he understands how to adjust in route, attack the football down the field. Like he can be really good that way. Then you got Perry Thompson. You got Malcolm Simmons. Is running back going to be what it was last year? Maybe not, but it should be good enough to offset, and the offensive line should be okay. It should be good. I'm not going to say it's going to be dominant yet. I'm not ready for that. I know Andy said it's the best one in however long. We've seen some really bad ones in however long.
Yeah.
But it should be good.
One would hope. I think they'll be fine. I don't think they're going to be elite. I think they'll be fine.
No, but I like the Mason Murphy kid coming in from USC. I think he can be a very good offensive tackle. I like him better than the Chaplin kid you're getting from Virginia Tech, but you might need him on the left side. The middle should be fine with Wade, Lou, and Wright. That should be good. And then if Tyler Johnson and Xavier Miller keep coming on, you've got finally got a little bit of depth at tackle, which they have not had in quite some time.
Yeah.
It's been a while since that's actually taken place.
A long while.
But it's going to take coaching. It's going to take a little development. It's going to take a little bit of resetting to make that thing go the way that some people either want it to go or think it's just automatically going to go.
Well, I think a lot of it, too, is very much mental. A lot of it. And we've said this 100 times. Making sure that you don't let one bad play define the performance. And you have to be able to let the bad plays go and not press the next play in order to make up for the bad play. That is a challenge for a lot of young guys. And I think that will be a challenge for Jackson Arnold because it's hard in this league, man. You're playing against some really good players, and you better be able to let the bad ones go because it's going to happen.
Let me ask you this, where you mentioned the mental part of it, and we've seen, second baseman who can't throw the ball to first base.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that was in a Yankees uniform. We have seen quarterbacks that just that turnover genome is not able to be rewired. We've seen pitchers not be able to throw the ball across the plate anymore.
The yips.
We've seen guys have it and mentally just something is there in your brain and you can't get past it. Tell us first, what was the worst spot you think you were ever in with anything that you had to overcome sort of like that? I know maybe not as bad as those that I just mentioned, of course, but where was your biggest mental obstacle where something was kind of stuck? And then if you're Jackson Arnold comparatively, how do you get past that? How do you exercise those demons? How do you make them go away where when you get to the back of that elongated drop and that receiver might not be open right this second, but is going to be open, your brain actually lets your body throw the football?
Yeah, I know that the worst thing that I dealt with was probably just a little bit too cautious, trying not to miss. Don't make mistakes. But when it's ground into your head nonstop, don't make mistakes, don't make mistakes, don't make mistakes. It's hard to play free. I think even if you were to ask Coach Saban, how he adjusted his behavior towards quarterbacks, he adjusted greatly in 10 years from the time I was there to the time, guys were slinging it all over the yard and empowering the quarterback, telling the quarterback, don't worry about it. You make a mistake, live with it. Who cares? Just roll with it. It's going to happen. You're going to make mistakes. It's okay. We'll get them next time. I think that goes a long way. My biggest thing was don't make mistakes, don't make mistakes, don't make mistakes. And when you start thinking about that, it's like in golf. Don't hit in the water, don't hit in the water, don't hit in the water. What do? You hit in the water. I think that's something that you have to be able to deal with. So that was my biggest challenge. Going from a high school offense where it's like, who cares if you throw a pick? We're going to throw for 7 touchdowns to don't make mistakes, don't make mistakes, don't make mistakes. And then in the NFL, kind of not having really a ton of opportunities to go out there and play, but really enough to know that the don't make mistakes mentality was a tough thing to get out of once it was ingrained into you from 18 years old to 23 years old. So tricky thing, but at the same time, man, I think the don't make mistakes mentality for Jackson Arnold is not the right mentality to have, because that's his big thing is he makes mistakes, but him thinking about those mistakes is only going to make that more difficult. And in this offense, man, you got to make quick split second decisions that are really tough. It puts a lot of pressure on the quarterback, but you got to do it. And I think he's going to be just fine.
So can it happen in game, or does it have to happen in game? Can it happen in practice? Does it have to happen in practice? What part is most important in getting past that? You can talk about it, practice it, but you have to actually go be successful not being your old self in a game before you truly cross that hurdle. How does it work as far as when it has to happen to definitively make sure it's gone?
I would say it probably has to happen. I don't know. I mean, it's going to have to happen over the course of the year. I mean, I'm not sure you ever know for sure when it's gone. I mean, it'd be great if you did, but I don't think you're going to. So I would say over the course of the year, you kind of just get a sense of what your guy's comfortable doing. Some guys are a lot more comfortable throwing it outside the numbers where bad things aren't likely to happen. Some guys are perfectly fine working in the middle of the field. It just depends on the guy and depends on how he's seeing the game. And it's up to the play caller to make sure he puts him in position to see the game the right way.
Yeah. All right. So a lot of quarterback competitions happening, a lot of questions about certain ones in certain places. Tweet those in at Mac and Q. Be a part of the show, 800-239-9569. You want to talk spring football, spring quarterback competitions. Which one is most important? Who has to get it right the most? Which one has to go a certain way in order for that team to be most successful? We'll continue that discussion on the other side. You don't have to wait for us to discuss that, but one thing you never have to wait for, Greg, is your dental care.
That's because Family Dental has you taken care of. The urgent care office where you can be seen the same day. They have 5 locations to make it easy on you. Hoover, Fultondale, Homewood, Alabaster, and now open in Trussville. Go and see Family Dental today. They can get you in on Fridays. They can get you on Saturdays. We know schedules are tough. That's why Family Dental is there to make it easier on you. When you're running around like crazy, you still got to get those teeth taken care of, and they'll do so at Family Dental. Call them today. It's 874-9605. That's Family Dental, 874-9605.
I'll continue this discussion on the other side next. Mac and Cube in the morning. 8:36, Friday, March 14th. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you being with us. We've been talking college football quarterback competitions that are out there, that are still happening, still ongoing. Let's stick quickly just with those SEC competitions, Greg, that we were mentioning. Which one is most important to get right? And I guess when I say get right, have a guy that maybe could help propel your team a little bit more because of who he can be and who he might be for any of these SEC teams that we talked about that might bring some uncertainty.
I think the guy that has maybe the biggest bearing on what their team may be is potentially Ole Miss's quarterback, Austin Simmons. I think that's a very gettable schedule. I think they have to replace quite a bit on defense, but they have enough. I mean, they still have some good players, obviously. So all that being said, man, I think Ole Miss is being slept on a little bit going into the season. Granted, big difference than what it was last year. Can't say it's that surprising, but there are not enough people talking about Ole Miss. I think there's a lot of people looking at Jackson Dart's like Jackson Dart's gone. Well, I'm telling you, the backup's good. He's a guy that can play, the guy they had confidence in. So I think everyone's, wetting the bed about Steve Angeli at Notre Dame. But what about what Austin Simmons did against Georgia?
All right, let's go through what is there to like about Ole Miss right now. You look at, we'll start in the backfield with Logan Diggs, who was hurt last year, couldn't go, but we've seen him be a hammer for multiple offenses. He's a guy that has had success when healthy. Notre Dame, LSU. We've seen him be that downhill back that, let's be honest, this offense could probably benefit from a little bit when you have that guy that can bring a little bit of thunder with all the lightning. Caden Lee is exceptional in the slot, can move him, can do different things. Now you're going to have to get on the same page with some other receivers that are transferring in. Dejon Stribling coming in from Oklahoma State has had some success. Harrison Wallace coming in from Penn State. You feel like could be one of those guys that could come in and be fine. You got a couple others that are coming in, like a Caleb Odom from Alabama, who a lot of people thought was going to step right in and be a go-to target there in Tuscaloosa. You lose a lot, but you got some talent there. I like going and getting Patrick Kudus on the offensive line. With basically, you lost a lot. Bulow, Kalepo were guys that played a lot. Caleb Warren played a lot of football for them. So the O-line took a hit from a depth and a rep perspective, but you go get Kudus, who should be able to fill in. I think tackle, you got some numbers that could be okay. I don't think getting Percy Lewis does anything for you. But the get that I really like for Ole Miss is Luke Haas at tight end, because we saw what Daquan Wright can be sort of later in the year. It really began to come on, and he's more athletic than Priestcorn. And yeah. I think Luke Haas is more athletic than Priestcorn. And he's not afraid to get in there and try to mix it up. Might not be as good of a blocker, but he's not afraid to give you the effort in blocking.
Right.
So that's two tight ends right now can play. And that gives that offense a lot of flexibility.
Pretty good starting point.
With formations, motions, personnel groupings to try and get favorable matchups for their receivers. So I do think there's still a lot to like offensively. And if you get Austin Simmons that comes in and is successful running it, you've got the bodies to be able to make it successful.
I think their offensive line, they are going to be better on the offensive line, right? Like they have to be.
It's hard to say that because when you went and got Kalepo and Bulow, I thought, all right, this can be an upgrade. And you have numbers. They won't have the numbers they had last year, but I think Sanders is fine at center. I need to go watch some more Delano Townsend, the UAB kid that they got that's slated to start. I watched him a little bit last year. I need to go study a little bit more to give you an idea of what I really think is going to happen there. But you got Pounds and Jaden Williams at tackle, who we've seen, and then you got tight ends to help the tackles, so you should be fine there. But it was bad last year at times, man.
Real bad.
And we thought the talent had been upgraded and the physicality was upgraded, and then it just didn't work. So you'd imagine it's got to be better, but if it's not, then you're probably in trouble.
Probably.
Because one thing about Jackson Dart, he got bludgeoned in multiple games and kept getting up and kept playing.
Correct. You won't find any pushback from me on Jackson Dart's toughness. I mean, he can go. He's going to give you all he's got. But I do look at this offensive line. I think they could be better. I just don't think last year, I looked at Kalepo, I looked at those guys coming over from Washington, they weren't that great. Like Kalepo was a
They had played a lot though, and had played on a good offensive line. They knew how to make it operate, and that's why I was kind of bullish on it. But
to be honest with you, their left tackle was their biggest problem.
Yeah, it just didn't work last year for Ole Miss.
I mean, well, it would require giving some effort from time to time. That's helpful. Working hard, all that stuff is big. All that stuff and working together, creating continuity, all that stuff's huge. So I don't know. I mean, I think Diego Pounds was a miss. I think there were a handful of other misses up front. And I just don't think they had a good running back at all. You can tell me all day long that Ulysses Bentley was good. He wasn't.
He didn't play.
He wasn't
the end
good.
Of the year. So.
Yeah. And you can't tell me that Henry Parrish would have been third string back at most SEC schools. So they didn't have any backs. So you have a good back. Guess what? You actually have a chance to do some damage in the run game. They didn't have any good backs.
Yeah.
So
defensively, there is still portions to like. Xavier Harris played a lot, not as consistently disruptive as you wanted to be. Kilo Stone has been better than I thought he was going to be. Perkins can be a star outside. I don't. Deshaun Womack from LSU. I don't know exactly what you're getting there. Now Prince Will Unmonmielen is not giving you the twitch and the burst that Prince Lee is going to give.
But they're brothers.
Correct.
They have to be
taller, longer, bigger, thicker,
better,
not as flexible,
more talented.
Well, no, the more talented one is not the bigger, taller, longer one. That would be Prince Well. He is bigger in stature, but not.
Well, look how big.
6'5", 245.
Oh, he must be better. If you're bigger, you must be better.
Not better. Not the same, actually. Not even.
What do you mean?
Not even the same kind of player, really. More of a use your wingspan, set the edge in the run game, give you a decent pass rush every now and then guy.
Really?
But TJ Daugherty can play at linebacker. We know he is a guy that they were excited about last year. Next to Chris Paul had a good year. So you got him back. Jaden Yates had a ton of production at Marshall. And you get some vets in the secondary like Sage Ryan, Antonio Kite, guys that have played a lot. But it's just a lot of new. So I think it's hard to be super confident with the defense compared to last year because it is so new and so different based on what was there a season ago.
Right.
That was a lot of new too, but it was a lot of known news.
Well, last year was a lot of new, but it was also a lot of star power. Like no one's talking about Xavier Harris. I mean, he's a difference maker. He's a game changer. Like he's a really disruptive piece on the inside of their defensive line. Is he going to be as good as Walter Nolan? I don't know. He might be more.
No, I'm going to say no.
Might be more consistent.
Yeah, I don't think the pad level's where it needs to be the majority of the time.
He's also 6'7". I mean, he's huge.
Yeah, but I just don't think he's got that. He doesn't have the same things that Walter Nolan had. But he can be productive, and we've seen him get in the backfield. We've seen him be disruptive. So I'm kind of with you that there's a lot of things to still like. It's just it's not as easy to like as much as you did last year, and that's fine.
Yeah.
You got to break some new pieces in.
And
it's unfortunate that the expectations were what they were last year. It was kind of playoff run or bust and still had a really good year. And so I think now people look at it as, well, if it didn't work last year, it definitely can't work this year, so turn the page. And it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
Like you said, schedule should allow for wins to be found, no doubt.
Should, but I'm not super confident that wins will be found all the time. I think when you rely as heavily on the portal as Ole Miss has a tendency to do, I think you are going to have some games that you lose that you shouldn't lose because guys won't be rowing in the right direction together. I think that's just the nature of doing business when you operate with guys that are in some ways there for one reason and one reason alone.
Yeah.
Like if there's not investment that's been made over the course of time, when the going gets tough, are you going to band together? Or are you going to start pointing fingers? Because I think you'll start pointing fingers.
It's feasible.
I mean, that's my reality. You go get individuals, you're going to get guys that act as individuals.
Well, you did have good leadership on that team last year. I mean, Dart had been around for a while. A couple of those offensive linemen had been around for a while. Pegues had been around for a while. You had guys who had been in, even though it was, he's a portal king, the whole deal. You had guys who had been with Lane and guys who had been at Ole Miss for a long time. And that helps. That helped last year.
Sure.
So do you get that this year? We don't know. We'll see. But there's a lot to like, even though people not necessarily throwing Ole Miss towards the top of the heap in the SEC right this second.
No.
A lot more to get to on quarterback competitions. A lot more to get to on where certain things are going to go for certain teams in the spring. 800-239-9569. If you have questions on any team in the spring, comments, concerns you want to share with us, you can do that on the Higginbotham hotline. Still a lot of flu going around, not to mention pollen season right around the corner. Make your home healthier with Trane's Clean Effects Home Air Cleaner. Removes up to 99.9% of airborne particles, including those that cause virus. 100 times more effective than standard air filters, 8 times more effective than HEPA room filters. Find a dealer near you at Trane.com. And remember, it's hard to stop a train. I'll be back to talk more spring football next on Mac and Cube in the morning. $8:51, Friday, March 14th. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Glad you're with us. I am still a little bit confused as to how certain players are hitting the portal, but Arkansas wide receiver Coffrey Brown has entered the transfer portal.
Oh.
I guess as a graduate, you can enter anytime?
Anytime, yes.
Why do we even have windows then?
Because you want to incentivize graduation.
Fair, but you just...
I don't know, dude. Feed. The windows are worthless.
But should you still not at least have the window say at the end of like academic segments. Like
That-
just
I think
the
that-
middle of the semester,
I-
just a guys enter portal. That feels
That would
just a
make
little
sense for me.
egregious.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. But I
Well,
don't.
hey.
I don't have all the answers.
Certain guys are heading in. Certain guys are there.
I'm sure there's a lot of people looking for guys in the portal right now.
Well, we speaking of portal, I did want to bring this up with you, and we may have to carry this over to the next hour. Did you see the latest from Kirby Smart referencing? Because when we talk about portal, we talk about these GMs that are being hired and who's going to go where and how these guys are going to operate. And we see what Oklahoma just did. They go get the director of the Senior Bowl to come in and run things for them. Kirby Smart says he's not in a hurry to just go hire a general manager and sort of run the show for him. That there's no way he would not still have a heavy hand in how things operate and doesn't want to hand over those keys to somebody else.
I bet you're shocked to hear that.
No, but to have an extra body to be able to sort of organize it and then present it to you, that's a little surprising.
Well, I do think that their culture at Georgia is a little different than a lot of other places too, though. You know, like the my way or the highway culture works for them. It doesn't work for a lot of other places. And I think that that's fine. That doesn't mean that everyone needs to do it the same way. But I also think Kirby's in a position of strength where he's been there for a while. He can do the my way or the highway because he's got enough guys that are willing to sign up just to play for him. Like a lot of guys don't have the skins on the wall to be able to do that.
Sure.
I mean, that's a tough thing to do. So they need their players to like them. Everyone always asks me all the time, like, how do you think Kalen DeBoer should do? I was like, well, Kalen DeBoer was dealt an impossible hand last year because they had the portal open up and everyone wanted their players because they had 4 and 5 stars all over the roster. Everyone wanted their players. And the people that they had to backfill their roster with were from Washington, Michigan, and Arizona. It's the only 3 places that you could get from when Bama was trying to backfill their portal spot losses. Those are the only 3 schools that you could get from. Those are the 3 that had the portal open to them.
Right.
So it was an impossible situation. So he basically had to concede to the players on the team just so that they could field a roster. Hey, I want to get in the portal. I'm going to the portal. Coach, what are you going to give me? Oh, we really need you. If we don't have you and the other 20 guys I'm meeting with today, we can't have spring practice and we won't have a team next year. So we had to give away the keys of the kingdom. And as a result, it was a player-led team. And that's not what you wanted with that group of players. And now he finally has guys that are able to kind of invest in him, buy into him. And now he can create a little bit more, hey, you're going to do it my way. You couldn't do that last year. Why? Because those guys all threatened to leave and he had to basically give them control, which is a really unfortunate thing to be in, but it's the reality.
Right. And I don't feel like that these schools that have GMs or hiring scouts or front offices, I've never seen, I didn't see Belichick hire Lombardi and say, well, I bet Bill's not looking at guys in the portal anymore. I've never thought that. So it was a little odd to me that somebody who is a maniacal recruiter and is helicoptering to high school games every Friday night, multiple, by the way, and seemingly always on the road, would have a little bit of pushback on to bringing an extra set of eyes in to maybe just give him a head start on who to look at or who to maybe they want to see or who's going to become available that they're hearing about. Those are the things that it surprised me a little bit about him just basically saying, yeah, I'm not ready to just hand that over. You don't have to hand it over. You can just be a guy that helps you organize it, that you believe knows it.
I do think that these guys are evaluating. The GM's there to serve as an intermediary. Does he help try to find the diamonds in the rough? Yes. Does he take some of the evaluation process off the head coach? Yes, that's helpful. That helps with time. But I still think that
does he take the majority of the NIL discussion off the head coach?
I think that's the key. Yeah. That's the thing. He's not the one. Now the head coach isn't the one putting out fires because some third string right guard's agent's disgruntled.
And like you said, if Kirby doesn't care, Kirby doesn't care.
Kirby doesn't care.
Go play somewhere else.
Yeah.
Good. We got another 5-star. See ya.
It takes time to build up that type of reputation.
Absolutely. Why Auburn will or will not win the SEC tournament next? I had a neighbor recently that dog ate magnets
Ah,
and ended up being, I want to say, like $4,200 surgery, something.
maggots?
And it was magnets. Magnets, not mag-ets. Magnets.
Yes.
Pretty expensive. And it was a puppy, like a new puppy that they had just gotten. I saw this story a few moments ago. Adorable puppy swallows 24 socks.
Socks? How big is this puppy?
It's not huge.
How big are the socks?
They're not like footy socks. Some are like ankle socks. There's a photograph of the surgeon with all the socks on the table. Here you go. There's all the socks.
Well,
right
like
there.
a police drug raid video, just all of them out there.
Yes,
Yeah.
basically,
Wow.
that's exactly what it is. Like they got it on the table. For the YouTube folks, I'll throw that up there so they can also see it.
Yikes.
That's all the socks right there. That one dog, and that ends up being expensive because you got to go in and get those out. It says amongst other things as well. What a terror!
Yeah, right?
Whew. 24 pairs of socks amongst other things in the dog's stomach.
Oh, 24 pair. So 48.
It's
Whew.
Or
I don't think. I think that's a.
24 pair
I think
or
that's a
per?
misprint. I mean, if we're looking at 1, 2, 3, it might be. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
One of them is like a Grinch Christmas sock, like full up to the knee.
Are you still wearing it?
Mm-mm.
No.
No.
Not usable
Yeah,
anymore?
Been halfway broken
How
down.
many of those socks are?
I will say, dog's vertebrae in great shape.
Okay. How many in that picture were white?
Well, now none.
Yeah, that's what you said.
Zero.
Was like, how many are you going to wear? That'd be 0.
None, and most shredded as well. Have we had an accident with a dog eating, chewing something? Mainly eating. I've heard about this from a couple of people. Thankfully, I don't think I've had a dog that has eaten something to where that's had to gone in and surgically be corrected. And essentially the dog's life be saved because that's what happens. But man, that's brutal. 24 pairs of socks. The story does earlier, John, say after eating 24 socks.
That is so many socks.
But think about what you have to do the rest of time that you have said dog moving forward. Like there's no more just taking shoes and socks off.
No.
Like that
Well,
thing's
maybe
got to be in a
surely
protected bin.
Surely the dog at this point realizes
Really?
that probably doesn't
You
want.
really think that it's not going to eat socks again?
Dogs are so smart.
So smart to eat 50 socks.
Bernese Mountain Dog.
That's not a small dog. So that makes a lot more sense that he was able to consume.
Wasn't a Pomeranian.
Bernese Mountain Dogs are gigantic.
Well, it looks like a kind of a big dog, but not like a massive dog. Like it's not like a Great Dane or anything.
That sucker's big. I'm telling you. Huge.
Mountain dog.
Yeah. And they only live like 5 or 6 years. So like he's just trying to accelerate the timeline.
Whoa, stop.
They don't live long. Bernese Mountain Dogs do not live long. They are beautiful dogs and they are sweet
7
dogs.
to 10 year lifespan.
Under.
I just give you what the American Kennel Club says on the website.
What do they know?
Temperament, affectionate, intelligent, loyal, faithful,
Intelligent?
Sock eater.
Yeah.
hungry.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're
let's be
sweet
honest.
dogs. They are very sweet dogs.
We
And
as
they're
humans
beautiful dogs.
eat glue.
By the way, what breed of dog would you not give affectionate, intelligent, loyal, and faithful?
Pitbull.
I feel like they're pretty loyal.
They're loyal. I wouldn't say affectionate.
No, but
Feel like
I
there's-
think they can be.
Some that are dumb.
Yeah, you can have that.
Not pit bulls, just dogs in general.
Yeah.
Some,
I don't know if it just belongs to a certain breed, though, does it? It just, some are smart, some aren't. Kinda
Dogs
like
are
us
definitely
humans.
dogs are definitely not the most intelligent. I love them. I'm a dog lover. I am a dog person. But I have found that dogs struggle intellectually. When your dogs make your 7-year-old kids seem like geniuses, that it tells you all you need to know. Because I am pretty amazed at the lack of intellect in our household right now.
Yeah, 84 to 1.
Meredith's the only one that has a chance. The rest of us.
84 to 110 for the Bernese Mountain Dog.
84 to 110?
Yeah,
Size?
pounds. Yeah,
Bro, they're big.
that's a big dog.
They're huge.
It didn't look that big sitting on the sofa, but
They're
yeah.
huge. They're beautiful too. They're awesome. They're soft,
Gobbling up socks left and right.
shedding everywhere.
It's the angles,
Just
man.
straight shed. Just pure shedness. I mean, they're not a practical dog.
If
But
you want socks gone off your floor, they are.
They look the part. They look the part.
If you want your dog to also act as vacuum cleaner, they are. Who needs a Roomba when we got a Bernese Mountain Dog? Socks, pepperoni, marbles.
These stupid magnets that are always falling out.
Just gets it all up off the ground. I want somebody to tweet in what's the most ridiculous thing their dog's eaten. We have no responses yet on that. Sorry, I passed up that story and couldn't help it.
It's a good
I
one.
had to get into it.
I am concerned a little bit about the long-term effect of consuming socks would be on a dog.
Oh, no, that's why they had to get it out immediately. I mean, that's
Well, obviously.
intestines gets jammed, and that's bad news, and they're gonna go down.
Yeah.
You're not surviving that.
No.
Not 24 socks. 10 socks, you got a shot, maybe. 24, not so much. That's a good night, Sally.
Good night, Sally.
I could give you another story
Good night,
about how dumpster diving is becoming the new trend amongst social media influencers.
I love how dumb social media influence trends are.
I quit shopping and started dumpster diving. I saved $50,000 in just 2 years. Is $50,000 in 2 years worth it to dumpster dive for you? That's the question on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Next on First Take.
Let me see.
Would you dumpster dive for $50,000 over 2 years?
That means you save $68 a day. That's pretty good. I could live off $68 a day.
What can you get for $68 besides a dozen eggs?
I could definitely eat. that would handle all of my food budget by a mile, and probably even some superfluous spending as well.
I had a buddy of mine yesterday that was complaining about a sandwich shop that his order was $22.
Yeah, that's about right.
This is like a quick.
Yeah, Jersey Mike's. Yeah, I got it.
It's not it. No, it wasn't it actually. It's a place that usually puts out fires.
Ah.
Damn, Subway did that to him?
Inside the house. I was like, $22 for a sandwich?
What'd you get?
Did you get chips and drink at least with that? I didn't get it. Wasn't
Bro,
me.
sub sandwiches have gone from like outrageous. Like you can either get the worst thing ever, which is a $5 foot long. Yes, that's accurate.
Why is it the worst thing ever?
Because it's not. There's no way you can feed me real meat for $5 on a foot long sandwich.
I disagree. This lady dumpster diving, I bet, could.
Yeah, I bet you could.
That's why they're not $5 anymore either.
Yeah.
How much are they?
They have like a deal of the day where you can get like a 6-inch for $6 or $7.
Yeah, when they give you.
But the 6-inch doesn't count as the $5 foot long, even though it's not $5. Like
right.
So they don't even reference that anymore.
I think it's like 10.
They've just thrown that out.
Yeah.
All right. So Subway has taken what they're known for and gotten rid of it.
They pulled a Southwest.
They've trashed that.
Yeah.
So now we see Southwest also say no more free bag checks, which people are losing their minds over this. Greg, are you done with Southwest because you don't get to check 2 bags for free?
I was done with Southwest when I walked on the plane and didn't have a seat assignment. So
but if you
about 20 years ago.
Walked on first, you're good though. Don't act like you haven't flown Southwest. I've flown Southwest with you.
Desperation. Desperate times call for desperate measures.
Guess
I'm stuck in the
came
Orlando.
Through in the clutch. Southwest.
When I'm stuck
just
in
like
Orlando.
The dumpsters came through for this lady.
When I'm stuck in Orlando by myself.
Wow.
Or sorry, stuck in Orlando
Shows you
and
what I
gonna
mean.
be.
He wasn't even with me.
No,
hang on.
No.
Without your kids is what I meant, basically. I can be in Orlando with my family and be stuck. That's fine. Done that. It's cool.
Different.
We got,
By the way, sidebar, real quick, hold on. You tell me if you think this would be attractive or not.
Oh, gosh.
My wife has shown interest in wanting to do Disney without children. Just like one time, she's like, I think it'll be so much more enjoyable to just more for like go different places to eat and
that'd be
not
great.
have to sprint place to place.
That's accurate. I think you would be pretty fun. I could just think of 17,000 different places I would rather go with my wife.
Make it 20,000.
Yeah. Like I would rather go on a one-night getaway to Gadsden than Disney World. I'd rather go on a one-night getaway to Athens. There's a bunch of great restaurants up there.
Is Yellow Wolf doing like a homecoming concert or something?
I don't
like
care where it is. I would go to Tupelo. I'm just saying like anywhere.
Casio Kid doing a homecoming performance.
Meredith and I last night went away to dinner.
You're retiring
4 minutes from the
number?
house. And it was a tremendous experience. Like it doesn't matter where you go. And it's just you and your wife without kids. Why do you need to go to Disney World? I love Disney World. It's a great time.
That is fair. I will say this.
I can go to Homewood and feel great.
There's not an event that my wife and I have participated in without children that wasn't enjoyable.
Not one thing. Seriously, not one thing that was not fun.
Wow. Michael Jordan had it right.
I'm being
about them kids.
Yeah, I mean,
even our argument in the bathroom before I left for work this morning was enjoyable because the kids were still asleep.
Yeah, there's nothing better than that. I mean, in all seriousness, like I just don't know why you need to go to the above and beyond before you go spend $6,000 on a romantic getaway at the Contemporary.
The influencers are telling you it's right there. Dumpster diving.
There you go.
I can do that together and make money.
I would say that save, not make. Save. Big difference. There will some people that will tell you when they shop and get find something on sale that is actually making money when it's you just possibly saving a little bit. So if Subway has cleared out the $5 footlong, I wasn't aware of this yet.
Oh yeah.
I did know that they have like the footlong pretzel that I kind of want to try, but because I'm a big soft pretzel fan, I don't know if it's good or not. And Southwest now says we have 2 bags for free. This has been one of our 2 or 3 staples of how we run our business. That and that if you are fortunate enough to be towards the front of the line and sprint onto the plane, you might get a good seat. What's next? Like, what's the biggest takeaway from a company that is known for something that is possibly going to be removed? And if they do, would be the biggest kick in the teeth yet.
I feel like one that's worked positively has been Dunkin'. They got rid of donuts out their name and just kind of shifted towards coffee. Yeah, they still have the donuts,
but they didn't take anything away from us. I mean, I understand
their name,
like you've shifted maybe the way you push your business model.
Yeah.
Which has possibly helped them, but they didn't used to give you a donut with every cup of coffee, and now they're not doing that.
Right. Yeah.
Which was kind of what it would have been.
Mm-hmm.
This is like Baskin and Robbins only having 3 flavors.
Yeah, that'd be a hit right there. You walk in, you're expecting to have these options, and like, actually, we have chocolate, vanilla, strawberry. Good luck. I told my kid that you had the best mint chocolate chip ever. We don't have that anymore.
I'm trying to think of one.
Like if Chick-fil-A didn't have chicken anymore, I feel like that'd be a problem.
Or if they stop saying my pleasures, just saying, screw you.
Oh, we don't do the nuggets anymore, sir. What? I got 7 kids in the car. No. How many sandwiches would they like? Could you cut the sandwiches up without the bread and I can pretend they're nuggets? That'd be a hit. That'd be a big one if that thing got removed. There've got to be companies out there that are considering taking away what they're known for, but they're number one, they're probably scared to do it. Number 2, they probably need to do it financially.
Popeyes is only doing seafood now. No more chicken. Bird flu got us.
Does Popeyes have seafood now anyway?
During this time of year, they kind of do like shrimp or something.
Odds it's real shrimp.
It's definitely real shrimp, but someone tells me it's farm fed.
At one point, yeah, it was shrimp.
Was it like metabolizing something else or what?
No, probably. Shrimp plus other stuff is still shrimp. Added filler.
We'll take your feedback. 800-239-9569.
I can't think of anything.
800-239-WJOX.
It'd be like Captain D's all of a sudden becoming like a chicken nugget place.
Chuck St. Clair tweets into the show, I'm Mac and Cube. Dog owner had to be single. 0% chance my wife would let me keep 24 socks on the floor.
I'm about to say there's a 0% chance I have 24 pairs of socks.
There's no way I have 24 pairs of socks.
That is a lot of socks.
David May tweets in, pair of underwear and had to pull it out. Absolutely disgusting. I have a follow-up there, but I'm going to refrain. And I think it's pretty blatant which one it is.
High or low?
Which way did you pull it out? I think everybody's wondering. It's not a secret there. Jolly tweets in, dumpster diving as a firefighter, came in and relieved the on-duty shift to find no furniture in the rec room. That shift had grabbed some furniture at the dumpster because it looked immaculate, except it had cat urine all over it. And they left that for y'all.
Wow. So just under immaculate, it means cat urine on it.
Just a smidge below.
If only,
usable.
if only though, this one tiny little
And
thing.
how did you know it was cat and not person?
I think you can tell
or
those
raccoon
things.
or possum
Possum.
or rat. Alex Page tweets in, will I, Greg McElroy, use Southwest Air when assigned seating process begins?
No.
Whoa. Why?
Because Southwest Air is not that different than American and Delta now. Southwest Air used to be the cheaper, more economical option. It's not.
I will say
fugazi.
I will say that
unless
Greg
I need
is right.
a direct flight to Baltimore, which hopefully I don't need that anytime soon, then I think I'm good
I'll
flying
say
Delta.
that you are right. We have a trip coming up that we have planned and are actually saving money on Delta, not taking Southwest.
Thank you.
And I would have never thought that was possible.
And my loyalty is
there are
with
these
Delta.
no more $49, $69 fares anymore.
No,
It's not
it
a real
used to
thing.
be like in the day, like back in the day, it really was cheaper. Like when I would go home from college, my parents would book me on Southwest. Why? Because it was like $57 from Birmingham one way to Dallas. It was the greatest thing ever. I think I could literally get a round trip for $1.15. It was next to nothing.
Trust me, I took a lot of $99 flights to Las Vegas. First couple years out of college.
Excuse me?
Birmingham to Vegas, $99. Yeah.
Direct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did it for a brief while.
Sicko.
Yeah.
Now, Southwest had a direct flight to like New Orleans, which I believe they did at one point.
They did. Yeah, it was like $49.
Yeah, if they had a direct flight to Nashville, like, all right, you can get my attention.
So what if we rolled up to Burger King today and you said, I want a Whopper with cheese, no ketchup, lettuce, a little bit of mayonnaise. And the guy comes back and says, you don't get it your way anymore, sir. They just take the whole thing that they were built on. Everything that they were built on, and this is no more.
You no longer rule.
That doesn't matter anymore.
Nope.
No. What if you bought a pair of Nikes tomorrow and there was no air? It was like the Nike flat. We don't do the air anymore. Sorry. It's not cool. We're trying to save money. We don't do that here. No. There has to be other business models that we're not thinking of, that they're built on something that could be taken away, that they're probably thinking about taking away, that if they did, would just be a kick in the junk. BVS lives here, probably lives here, tweets in, adult Disney is the absolute best. Don't listen to Greg. Wife and I go alone regularly. Very low key and enjoyable.
Do you ride the
Probably
rides?
get your steps in.
You ride the rides?
Would you not?
What I'm
would
saying,
you just go walk around and look at things?
Here's my thing. Like
what sightseeing at Disney?
Yeah, like
Of
making.
course you ride the rides.
See, like I'm good there. Like I don't need to ride rides at this stage of my life. I'm good. My whole explanation is, what is the point? I can go, and if the goal is to have nice time away with your significant other, I can go to Leeds, I can go to Gadsden, I can go to Tuscaloosa, I can go to Bessemer, I can go to Athens, I can go to Huntsville, I can go to Tupelo, I can go to Jackson, Mississippi. I don't care. I can go anywhere. I don't need to go to a place where I'm paying a fortune to go out. And to be honest with you, I'm a Disney employee. I enjoy going to Disney. I really do. I think it's really fun. But what makes it fun is the look on my kid's face when we walk through the gates of the Magic Kingdom. Like, I don't need to look over to my wife and have her be glowing because Minnie wanted to take a picture with her. I'm good there. Like, if we're going to go spend arm and a leg, yeah, we'll go to the Bahamas. I'll go sit at the Baha Mar and gamble all day. All day. And she can go do, play mahjong. I don't know. Like, whatever it is.
With who? Don't you have to do that with friends?
People play chess against themselves. Can't you play mahjong against yourself?
But think about the things that you get to partake in and witness at Disney, even if it's not the rides. And I think that there's something else that you and I have a certain advantage with as to why this is a part of the conversation that we only need to go further into. But that's probably why it was brought up to begin with. You see Cinderella in Jackson, Mississippi? You get to ride Winnie the Pooh in Fort Morgan.
Cinderella the band or the Disney princess? Because
not
maybe
the band. I don't think they tour anymore. I think they're long gone. Actually, I don't know. I have no idea. Cinderella's best song.
Don't know what You Got Till It's Gone. Is that them?
I'm trying to think. Would you go would you go eat like in Cinderella's castle? Like, would you do character dinners?
I don't think you would need to do that. No. I don't think that would need to be a part of it. But you also, if you wanted to go eat somewhere a little bit more upscale, one, you wouldn't have to worry about exhausted children pitching a fit, going nuts, or the iPads being charged so you could survive it. Two, if there was a wait for a better place that you actually wanted to eat, you wouldn't have to be concerned with that because it's not going to be as much of an issue. I think a lot of the headaches that come with it are now gone.
That's accurate.
Like fireworks after 8, could actually stay up and watch those and not have to worry about getting up at 5:50 so you can make your first, speed pass, whatever the hell it was the next day.
All right. Well,
I think it could be enjoyable.
Let me know how it goes.
I don't know if it'll ever happen.
Yeah.
Just saying it's something that has been discussed. And we've already had folks tweeting into the show that said they liked it.
That's good.
And it was good for them.
I'm glad they enjoyed it.
I want to know how your trip to Gadsden goes.
It's going to rip. I have a key to the city. Love it. I can go anywhere.
I can do anything.
I can go anywhere.
Hey,
up
this is
there.
on me tonight.
Let's ride.
Rolling with style.
All those things.
I would actually really thoroughly enjoy that, to go to like some of the cool small towns across the country and like go. Like I remember one time, like up in Coleman, we went.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go up.
Up in Coleman, we went to like this amazing restaurant. I don't recall the name of it off the top of my head. I'm certainly not throwing out any freebies today, but like. It was amazing. And I'm like, I didn't even know this existed. Or, the Bright Star, the first time we went to Bright Star for a buddy's birthday at Aaron Bessemer, like that was a great experience. Like there's so many places like that, and you don't get to do that with kids.
Was
like,
it the Chubby Crow in Coleman?
I don't remember what it was.
Puckett's restaurant.
I don't remember. It was phenomenal.
It had a barrel or something. I'm not quite sure.
It was in Coleman. I know that for sure. And it was amazing. It was so good.
I'm being serious on this note. Was it all steak with the orange rolls?
Yes.
Yeah, I was in there a bunch.
Yeah, that was where it was.
Yeah,
Orange rolls.
Coleman used to be in my territory.
That's all it took.
And my manager was like, "Why don't we meet in Coleman for lunch?"
Like, it was so good. I was like, "This is amazing!" Like, this is like that's what I would do. Like, if we were trying to do a night away, like I'd just hop around. All steak for lunch.
By the way, they have an Augusta's Sports Grill in Coleman. That sounds right up your alley.
Action. How
much you want to bet that their main colors are green and yellow?
What if it was like brown and orange?
No, they know what they're doing.
They got them.
Now, there is one person who has tweeted something in along these lines who obviously has not been listening to the station for a very long time because it has been discussed in a little bit of a different way. And it was a massive problem. I will tell you what that is, what he's discussing. When we come back, first tell our listeners about Bromberg's. You can just go there instead of driving all the way to Gadsden and going to a catfish restaurant.
Yeah, it was great. I'll go anywhere. I don't care. I'll go anywhere. All about it. Bromberg's is great. It's amazing. Love every single time I walk in, and just knowing how much it's going to improve my experience when I shop at Bromberg's. It does get stressful, man. You're buying things like this. These are expensive items. These are things that could live in your family forever. It is stressful. It's nerve-wracking, but it's worth it when you go to Bromberg's. It's going to point you in the right direction. They have the sales staff that knows. They're so smart. They understand where they're going. They understand what you need. They understand what's going to last. They understand value. And you're going to get great value when you go to Bromberg's. I get gifts there. I get jewelry there, timeless pieces, natural diamonds, you name it, they got it. Go and check them out in Mountain Brook Village and the Summit. It's Bromberg's.
They still have a Pasquale's Pizza in Coleman.
Action. And you guys are trying to go all the way to Disney to go have a hot dog in Germany
Soft
at Epcot.
pretzel shaped like Mickey, actually, with the ears is what I want.
You go get a churro.
I want that.
Unreal.
All right, we got a couple more responses coming in. We'll get those to you next on Mac and Cube in the morning. 9:28, Friday, March 14th. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Told you earlier, there's probably a chance of one of two things happening for the Auburn Tigers today at the SEC tournament. You go back to, and we're not going to get a pandemic, so I don't think that's an option here. 2016 lost first game, 2017 lost first game, 2018 lost first game, 2019 won the whole thing, 2020 pandemic, 2021 no postseason, 22-23 lost first game, and then 24 won the whole thing. If Pat Bradley had to go one or the other right there, SEC Network basketball analyst, which way are you going? Auburn losing in the first game or Auburn winning the whole thing? Because I don't think pandemic's an option here.
No, although there's always a chance something gets squirrely down here in Nashville. You know, you've been to these streets. You've been down to Broadway. You just never know what's going on down there. I say win it all. You've got to. That's the mentality that I think everybody should have. And, you know, I think talking to all the coaches that we get on set, I mean, they're to a man say, we came down here to win this. I mean, there's a message we're sending to our team, to our fans, and they know how important it is, I think, to keep that going.
How was the energy in the building yesterday? Yesterday was a phenomenal day. I mean, just from start to finish, captivating games. All were pretty dang competitive. Well, most were pretty dang competitive for most of it. So what was the energy like in the building yesterday?
It was really good. And to your point, we've had all of our games. So on Wednesday, there was one game that was a double-digit victory, Mississippi State over LSU, and LSU sort of just challenged right now. I mean, they've injury, whatever, they're missing some guys. So those other three games, extremely competitive. And yesterday was the same situation. Our double-digit game really was a lot closer than what the score showed in Mississippi, Missouri. But you had a lot of folks, and of course, listen, there's a reason why when the SEC tournament rolls around, they call it Catsville, and that's because Big Blue Nation will show up in droves. I mean, these folks, they're saving their money all year round. I'm talking 365 days just to be able to get down here and wear their Kentucky blue. But it was a great atmosphere, and I know today's going to be even better with Auburn fans, Alabama fans. They've been building up to this. You know, it's funny, Greg, because we always kind of joke about it being, you know, a big blue wave of fans, and for them to play the night games is always like a shot of energy for us on the desk because we get there. We got there about 10 a.m. and we didn't leave last night till 1 a.m. So, you know, to have that little shot of juice and energy in the building for us, too, not that it's all about us, but sometimes it is, fellas. That gives us a boost, too.
Pat Bradley joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline talking SEC tournament. Just specifically with this matchup today, you said you would go with Auburn to win it as opposed to being more likely to go out in the first round. I feel like the last time around was when Auburn was on that stretch of like really getting off to good starts. And when they caught them physically, Ole Miss matched up a little bit better the first time that they played. What is the biggest issue that Ole Miss may present for Bruce Pearl's team today?
Well, Ole Miss's basketball team, they've got a veteran backcourt, really good, with a kid named Sean Padula, who's a transfer kid. You got Juju Murray, really solid. Doesn't turn the ball over. Matthew Morrell, very explosive scorer. So I'll start with those three guys. They're veteran guys. They don't turn the basketball over. They're good one-on-one guys, can get by you and create. And I think Ole Miss, if you would look at what's their strength, defensively, Chris Beard's one of the best in the country. His defense is no middle, right? You cannot get to the paint. We're going to push you out no matter what happens. They're tough and physical. Their weakness, if you would say, they don't really have anybody inside to protect the paint, right? So they do have a kid in Malik Dia, about 6'9". Outside of him, you know, you don't have much size to give resistance to big DC Dylan Cardwell, who's an absolute just beast, beat you up down there, as well as Janai Broom and Chaney Johnson obviously plays big. So I would think the advantage for Auburn is right there in the paint. But Ole Miss, They don't turn the basketball over, which means that they're getting – I mean, this is such an underrated thing in basketball. It's like, just get a look at the basket. Give yourself a chance. Like, even if it's not a great shot, get a shot. And you get a chance for an offensive rebound. You get a chance, even if it's a low-quality shot, to get an opportunity for a shot. They're really good one-on-one. They're going to try to isolate you. Like I said, they're a tough driving team, so they're going to try to isolate you, back you down. They'll back you down from the 1 position to the 5 position. Auburn's just a different animal, though, fellas. Depth, size, defense, offense. It's just really one of the great teams we've seen in a long time.
Certainly seems that way. When you watch and look at the way teams are going to have to attack Auburn, which team do you think is most equipped to be able to pull that off? Is it Florida? Is it Alabama, who knocked them off last week? Is it somebody else?
I feel like there's, in my opinion, only 5 teams that will get a national championship. 5 teams that will get a national championship this year, right? You've got Auburn, Duke, Florida, Alabama, and Houston. I'm just throwing Houston in there because I respect what they've done over the years. Duke, Cooper Flag, horrible. One of the worst nightmares for an athlete is injury last night. I don't know what's going to happen. I hope they don't, the kid rests up. So fast forward that to our tournament, Florida, Alabama. Florida is incredibly a potential 1 seed, if not a guaranteed 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, maybe the least talked about 1 seed we've ever had in like the history of basketball. They have size, they have depth, they have everything you want as a basketball team. I actually picked Florida to win the SEC tournament. I'm sorry, fellas. I know I'm talking to you two guys, Auburn, Alabama. However, I just think Florida is clicking on all levels. They have a monster backcourt. Listen, their backcourt goes 6'4", 6'3", 6'4", 6'5". Then they got 7'2", 7 feet, 6'11". They can shoot it. They can bang with you. Again, a veteran backcourt team in Florida. And they've got a superstar in the making, and a 6'10" kid from Australia. Kid's named Alex Condon, 6'10". They run the offense through him. He can shoot the 3 now. He's extended his shot. He can pass. He can rebound, puts it on the floor a little bit. So I think Florida is a major threat. Of course, Alabama coming off what we saw them beating Auburn is always a threat. So it's I don't know what you guys' plans are for the weekend, but you better take the ride over.
And the only reason that I'm a little hesitant on Florida is because I feel like everybody's taking Florida to win this SEC tournament.
Know, right?
So it feels a little bit odd. But either way, I want to switch to Alabama before we run out of time with you. Kentucky looked pretty good in certain ways yesterday. I do think that Alabama has presented some new problems for teams inside recently, but don't know if you're going to be able to pull that off as much against this Kentucky team. What's the matchup to watch here? Well, what does Alabama have to be wary of if they're going to advance?
So, we had Coach Nate Oates on the desk last night, and you know how coaches are, man. Who knows? You asked him a question. He brought up Jaron Stevenson, and that I know. Stevenson is a 6'11" kid who has got incredible talent, and he can shoot it. He can get on the glass. I think he's that X factor type player that, if he is just, he didn't have to make all of them, right? But he can, if he can knock down 2, 3, he's going to get opportunities. He's going to get some open shots, whether it's in the corner, and he's going to be able to affect the rim. The other thing, too, is Kentucky's got 3 big guys, Amari Williams, Andrew Carr, and the other big kid, Garrison. They like to run their offense through these big guys. They'll catch it at the 3-point line, top of the key. Shooters will run off of them. They'll cut, and these guys are good big men passers. So to have Grant Nelson be able to pressure those bigs at the perimeter, Jaron Stevenson, 6'11", to give that defensive pressure, that's going to be key. And the other side, Mo Diabate for Alabama, to me, is like, he's like that fix-it type guy, 6'7". If something's broke, Mo Diabate can fix it. Is that a loose ball? I'll get it. Offensive rebound, defensive rebound, I'll go get it for you, coach. Garbage bucket, you need it, that's me. So he's the fix-it man. So I think if you talk about X factors, not your regular headline guys, I'd go with Mo and Stevenson.
Finally, as you look at Bama and how they're going to have to attack Kentucky tonight. Kentucky, do you think there'll be any lethargy at all? I'm just curious, based on how they played last night, and if so, will that give an advantage to Alabama tonight?
Man, I'm telling you, the look in the eyes of Otega Owe. Okay, now that was an emotional game because he played for Oklahoma last year, the kid who hit the game-winning bucket, right? So he played for Oklahoma last year, beats them a second time at the buzzer. And to see Kentucky, how they celebrated, to see their players, how excited they were, I don't think there's going to be any letdown. I think they've got, I don't know if they could have gotten any sleep last night. That's how juiced they looked to me and motivated. So I don't think there'll be any of that playing into this. And Greg, again, it's a Friday night. It's a headline. It's prime time in Nashville. The number one offense in the league against the number two offensive in the league. The number one three-point shooting team against the number two three-point shooting team. What else do you want? We're going to have country music stars rolling in. I talked to my buddy, just got the GM job for the Tennessee Titans, Mike Baganzi from Everett, Massachusetts, my old high school teammate. He's going to be down there today. He's going to be at the Tennessee game, actually. But maybe he'll stick around for the primetime headliner game tonight. You guys still got time, by the way. Let's go.
Yep, we got
love it.
Thinking about getting up there. Got things, though. Got things, Pat. So
we all got things. It's about priorities. It's
you're right.
No, come on. There's no priorities. There's no priority higher than hoop.
That's exactly
number one.
This is our time. Greg, tell them.
That's it. Pat, thanks for hopping on today, man. We greatly appreciate it. Always good catching up with you, and I look forward to having you back again soon.
All right, boys. Appreciate it. Be safe.
There we go. Pat Bradley joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. I mentioned that somebody brought something up in reference to things being taken away. We'll get to that on our Twitter feed in just a moment. But I got to tell you about Game Day Men's Health. If you are feeling on edge, if you're lacking sleep, Game Day Men's Health wants to help you. If you're just feeling down and out, Game Day Men's Health might be able to help you because that could be the effects of low testosterone. You go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com right now. You get a free consultation with a free PSA test, free testosterone test, all done for free right there at Game Day Men's Health. That's going to give them a baseline of your health, where you are, what they're going to be able to do for you. Then they'll present those options. You can save 10% on any of those options when you mention Mac and Cube that you went in there for. Also, weight loss programs at Game Day Men's Health. Locker room environment, low stress, not going to push you into different things that you don't need. Just go sign up for the consultation today. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. That's GameDayMen'sHealth.com. All right, back with more right after this. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. If you missed our conversation before, Pat Bradley, on companies that could take things away based on what they've always marketed themselves around, what would that be? What would that look like? We had a few other people chime in and didn't really get to those just yet. NWK tweets in, you guys are overthinking it. It would be just like any Mexican restaurant taking away the chips and salsa. Now, we have had a very similar conversation on this show.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
To an establishment that attempted to institute paying for chips and salsa, which was brought up on this show and given a Randy Macho Man elbow off the top rope, a literal finishing move, as in weeks later, that was removed and reinstated as you get those when you come in. Now, refill still had to be paid for. Oof. Which in and of itself is an egregious act.
That's a bridge too far for me.
It's an egregious act. And I feel like if you are in a city that has a chamber of commerce or Better Business Bureau, they should step in at that moment in time and say, you're no longer allowed to operate your business here.
Yeah.
You're fired from being someone who can fire other people. You're done. Shouldn't allow it.
Shouldn't.
I lose respect for the city that allows that. It's going to be honest with you right out of the gate. It is.
That's what it is. I still don't know. I still don't know what place it is, for the record. We've been talking about it for how long now? I still don't know what place.
Greg is literally like Paul Wall right now, sitting sideways on YouTube.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Well.
Oh yeah, let's ride. That's slimming. It makes my guns look big. Gosh, I'm jacked.
Whoa.
Paul Wall, not Paul White.
Wow. What's that supposed to mean?
Fauna Malacious tweeted in, nothing like dropping 150 on a meal and having to scarf down your food before the kids lose their expletive. Fun times. Hey, not all meals were meant to sit and enjoy quietly.
No. And tipping like 30% because it's the right thing to do, given the mess your kids made. Which I have done regularly.
Is that not just everywhere?
No, that's only when you have like the pay card. I love when you like go and buy donuts. I have a place in Homewood that I like to go buy donuts at. And the options for tip are like 20, 25, and 30%.
The best is
you literally got donuts
when you get those options on pickup.
Oh yeah, no,
like
it is
order ahead, and you don't need $7 for me picking up.
It's always pickup.
Something.
When has it not been pickup?
When you go in and order them.
Yeah, you go in and order them, and you walk out the door as a donut.
No, I'm talking
place.
about order ahead. So you literally just go in, and your name's on it, and you take it.
Oh, I usually do like 10% for the house.
I'm always confused at what to do with that.
Yeah.
I never really know.
It's a safe bet. I always go 10%.
It's even more annoying now that like plumbers are doing it.
What?
Yeah.
Like when you pay?
Yeah.
Plumbers make like 90 an hour.
I know that.
Well, the good news is if you go with Polar Bear Services, plumbing service is part of their repertoire. They can take great care of you. They've done an amazing job in incorporating plumbing. It's been a new addition to their incredible line of HVAC services. They can also help you with whole home generator install. This time of year with storms rolling through, you might lose power. Having a whole home generator installed will add great value to your family home. Highly recommend Polar Bear Services. Weston, the guys have been amazing for me, and know that your system's going to be running overtime because it's going to get hot. It's going to be here soon. And you want to make sure that your system is ready for the test that it'll be put through this summer. So call Weston and the guys. And remember, if you have a problem with your electrical, plumbing, heat, or air, just pick up the phone and call the Bear. It's 205-497-BEAR. It's 497-BEAR.
All right, we'll close it out with our Super Sofa Games of the Week next. Mac and Cube in the morning. 9:52, Friday, March 14th, right here on Jocks 94.5.
Bill Smith Buick GMC is the GMC Dealer of the Year. 5 years in a row, they've won the national championship of GMC dealerships. They do a better job than anybody, and General Motors acknowledges that. They also sell more vehicles than anyone in the entire Southeast. Is because they give you better deals than anyone else in the Southeast. They can take $13,000 off a GMC Sierra. You get it for just over $52,000. You won't find that deal anywhere else. It's amazing what they can do for you when you shop at Bill Smith Buick GMC. Take the short drive up to Coleman. You'll be glad you did. You can also shop online, have it delivered right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com.
All right, let's get to our Super Sofa game of the weekend, brought to you by our friends at TD's Fine Furniture. If you had one, which one would it be to watch over the weekend? Any sport, any game. Greg, go.
There are so many options, but I will take the Alabama Crimson Tide tonight against the Kentucky Wildcats, Blue Bloods. They're trying to turn it into Cashville. They won't do it. Not on our watch.
Cashville or Catsville?
Cat Nashville.
Catsville?
They already have the Nashville Cat.
Cashville?
It's Wild Catchville.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. CATSH. Catchville. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Bama, Kentucky.
I don't think
take
they're
it
going to pull
tonight.
that off. I'm going to be honest with you.
I'm not sure I need to. Not sure I care. Want to know why? Because they're going to get run tonight when the Tide run them off the court. Let's ride, Tide. We got them.
Just like Navy the other night.
Who cares about Navy?
Taking on all the America.
Ain't nobody care about Navy.
You did.
Mercer has a good offense.
So it's Army.
They're running it at 80.
Army football and Navy basketball. Those are the two.
Yes.
Okay, I got you.
Not anymore because they got run
And
by
Air Force baseball.
by
Air Force
all of
baseball.
America.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Damien, your Super Sofa game of the week.
Well, there's no telling who's going to be in this, but it's the championship game of the SEC tournament on Sunday at noon. TBD versus TBD, but we will be watching it because of our friends at TD.
Who does not want to see TBD versus TBD?
You know
it's like throw the records out when TBD meets TBD. Rivalry game.
Neutral side.
Just TBD doesn't just roll in and beat TBD. It just doesn't happen. John, Super Sofa game of the week.
For me, it is going to be UAB taking on East Carolina today. It, in theory, will tip around 8 o'clock. We're not quite sure when exactly it will.
Not at 8.
Probably not, but either way, you can listen to it on 100.5 Jocks 2. Don't forget, you can get that Super Sofa or anything for the home at TD's Fine Furniture this month. Take only take advantage of TD's tax rebate sale. Anything you purchase, they'll rebate your sales tax right back to you. Add that to the lowest price guarantee. There's no reason to shop anywhere else than TD's, not TBD, TD's Fine Furniture in Summerton.
I'm going with 6 o'clock today on ESPN, and it'll probably tip at 6:40, 7:20, 7:15. North Carolina Duke. Yeah, it's a rivalry game. It's neutral site at the Spectrum Center in Charlotte. But I just want to see what Cooper Flagg looks like if he plays, what they say about him, if he's going to go again, because this is a legitimate national championship contender. And if he's not healthy and if he's not back, all of a sudden I think the entire tournament's different. That's a legit 1 seed that is no longer close to a 1 seed if he's not going or if he can't be what he's been all year. So just because of that alone, that is my Super Sofa game of the week. Because if Duke doesn't advance past Carolina, then you don't see him, you don't know, they don't talk about him anymore from the perspective of him being in the arena. I think he's that important to this tournament. He's that important to college basketball. TD's Fine Furniture Super Sofa game of the week.
He's there, Kenyon Martin.
Yeah, absolutely. Shinar Flooring is also great, Greg.
Yeah, they are. Shinar Flooring and Fu and his guys doing a great job of making sure that they have stuff in stock ready to go so you can go take a look at it yourself at one of their warehouses. You can see it up close. You can touch it. You can feel it. This is 100% waterproof, kid-proof, pet-proof. It's great all over your home. You'll be glad that you installed it. It adds value to your home. It's Shaw Flooring, CoreTech Flooring, and they have 40,000 square feet in stock at Shinara Flooring. So you can go and check out Fu and his team, who are the contractors that you can trust and love. Remember, if you're trying to make some changes to your floors, it's pretty easy. Call who? Call Fu. Call them today at 205-518-6423 or go online at fuandyou.com.
We're back Monday to recap it all. 3-man front coming at you next.